Okay, is everyone ready? Bill, we have this recorded now and live. Very good, thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Virginia City Council Chambers. This is a special budget meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Today's date is Monday, December 22nd, 2025, and the time is 6:32 p.m. This is the last opportunity for us to go through the budget before our council meeting tomorrow, where we'll set the budget and the levy. So we'll turn this over to the council for additional information. And I just want to note that we did receive a last-minute email, or an email I received today from a citizen regarding some questions that he would like answered. And so we'll go through and answer those questions the best we can. So we might as well start with this, and then we'll move on to the regular budget thing. So the first question for the edification, for the education of the general public, is that the new proposed debt service levy for 2026 is now $3,058,694. This is $1,883,593 increase over last year. That's a 55% increase in debt service. And Britt, you have an answer for that?
If you look on the smaller packet that Pam sent on the page 4 in yellow, and I put little asterisks next to it, just to make this easier, as we were talking about this, I moved all the debt service, the debt levy, from the general fund, so that it's now we all know all debts in the debt levy, and general fund is the general fund, not debt. So it's all in one area. So it looks like it's a very large increase, but it's really just moved it out of one spot and put it in the other.
Okay. The second question is the projected budgeted loss for the Eintrail Motors Event Center in 2026 is now $1.5 million. Even though last year, 2 years, the losses were 1.7 each year, where is the additional revenue coming from or cuts to expenses? Britt?
Lead recreation assistants have been cut. We've changed our model, so we are not running the concession stand anymore.
All right.
Things that have happened in 25.
And so the question is about additional revenue coming in.
Or cuts to expenses.
Very good. All right. First, Councilor Buckschneider, then Councilor Beyondich. Councilor Buckschneider.
I do. I think we both are asking the same thing. Can you repeat what that number was of what the amount was, and then what the cuts are that we're making for that?
Okay. According to the citizen, that the budget losses to the Eintrail Motors Event Center in 2026 is $1.5 million. Last 2 years, the losses were $1.7 million each year. The question is, where is the additional revenue coming from, or cuts to expenses? And Britt was alluding to some of the cuts that were made to cut some of our expenses in that regard. And the revenue, this ITMEC is that's in the general budget, right?
Talking about the transfer from the general budget, yes.
We're correct, transfer from the general budget, yeah. Does that answer your question or clarify?
So, thank you, yes. So we're saying that if we're going from 1.5 to 1.7, we're looking at a $200,000 difference. And we're saying that 2 lead rec assistants and transferring the concessions equals $200,000.
I think it's...
Increased revenue, and there's some other changes we've made.
So we're saying that equals $200,000 in all of the increased revenue and the cuts.
Well, and what he's referring to is the transfer. So the plan transfer we have is 1.3 million right now. If it goes more than that, then that's extra money we need to transfer. But
Councilor Buckschneider?
I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not following. So our plan transfer right now is 1.3 million. And what was the planned transfer last year?
Try to find that sheet.
I apologize, I'm not finding it on here either. When you find what page, could you let me know too, please?
The last 2 years, it was $1.7 million loss. This year, it's $1.5 million loss. And the question was, where is the additional revenue coming from or cuts to expenses? So it went from 1.7 in the last 2 years to $1.5 million this year. And the question is that, where's the other revenue coming from, or what did we cut in our
Well, in
expenses?
2024, it was actually budgeted for 985,000. That was, so his numbers are a little off, but
These are concerns that are addressed by this citizen.
And just to confirm, that was the 985,000 was the budgeted number. Do we know what the actual number ended up being?
have that.
So I have the financials through November. And I don't have the final transfer number, but with considering that transfer, it still is negative about 592,000. So this year's transfer will be closer to what we're budgeting for 2026.
So that 1.3 million is what we're budgeting?
Yeah, we're budgeting the transfer of 1.3. I think we're going to be closer to 1.5 for 2025.
I'm just thinking, I'm sorry. So we budgeted 985,000. We're gonna be transferring this year closer to 1.5 million. And then next year, we're planning for 1.3 million. So two questions then. First question is, where are we finding those additional funds for this year? And then second question is, how are we cutting $200,000 because we transferred the concessions earlier this year, so that should have been a cost savings then for at least part of this year. And the one lead rec assistant, I'm not sure when we cut that one, but I think it was a while ago, and the second one was also vacant for quite some time, so that in theory should have been a cost savings for this year. And so where are we finding then that additional, if we're going from actual at 1.5 this year to budgeted 1.3 this year, I still don't see where we're gonna get 200,000 in savings.
We had budgeted 100,000 for concession supplies in 25, and we're only budgeting 5 for next year. Budgeted 2,000 for office supplies, 3,000 for office supplies last year. We're budgeting 1,000 this year. So there's a lot of cuts if you look on the side here, things we're cutting throughout the budget. Revenue has increased. I mean, I know that's not everybody likes to hear that, but that's the truth, is that ITMEC has gotten busier and revenue has increased every year. Not to the point of being
I like
zero.
to hear that.
Not to the point of being zero, but revenue is increasing. That's a good thing.
Okay, thank you. And then, I know we're talking about the 2026 budget, but maybe at a future meeting, we would still want to discuss if we budgeted the 985K, but it's actually going to be closer to 1.5 million this year. Where are we getting those funds? About 500,000-ish. But I know we're not talking about that today, but that is a question I would like at least discussed in the future. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councilor Bachschnider. Okay, you're good? Councilor Beyondich, and then over to Councilor Paulson.
And it's just a comment. Britt, if you could speak louder and slower.
Right, yep.
When you spoke the first time, it went right over. Thank you.
Yep, I'm sorry, I have a cold, so my voice is a little wonky too, so I apologize.
Councilor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. So are we talking about this item because it was in the,
Yeah, I think you're going through.
is that what we're gonna do? So if we go on page 30, if that's what we're gonna do, page 35 is the actual that's under the recreation, so if you look on, almost to the to the last one, account 342 MEC, so it shows the transferring from the MEC of 1.366148. That's what we're projecting the budget to, the shortfall, so that's what we're projecting the subsidy to be. Then if you go on page 39, on the top half is the revenue half, and then at the bottom, account 201, operating transfer in. So that's what we're, obviously, those numbers match. But if you look at the concessions, we're losing, so we had budgeted for 2025, $150,000 in revenue, and then the matching column down below would, so the concessions is top revenue at ending in 750. Then the bottom would be the cost, but not the full cost. Concession supply is 250. So there should have been a projected $50,000 profit. Is that correct? With, okay, so that should have been a $50,000 profit. But those two are canceling themselves out. So we're not getting the revenue, but we're not having the expense either. So do we know, but then that's a projected loss of $50,000 of revenue. So this question is, what additional revenue where's the additional revenue coming from, or cuts to expenses? So we have cut the concession expenses, which the budgeted last year was 100,000, but the revenue, we budgeted 150, so we were still gonna profit 50 grand from that, from the concessions being active. Are we going to be making any concession revenue, or do we have a projected amount from the concession revenue with it being contracted out to Boomtown?
What we have in the budget for the,
Yeah, show me where that
I'm
is.
trying to see where the leases are. The liquor commissions, of course, number one is the liquor that we get.
Liquor commissions, Britt, what line item is that?
That's 260,34745 at the top there. And I want to give a shout out to that. When you look at it, if you look at already this year, we budgeted 5,000, we're at 11,954 for November. So that's going to be a good one.
But are we making any percentage from Boomtown's food? I thought we were.
We are, and I don't know that I have.
Or do they pay us? I can't even remember that agreement, to be honest with you.
I don't remember what the agreement or the percentage was, but when we, and I think we haven't, because we're kind of just getting rolling with them. So we haven't really gotten much for commission checks from them, but when we do start getting dollars from them, it'll be under the 740 line, the food and beverage commissions. So it's the
Under the.
26037 or 34740.
Got it, Food and Beverage Commission, okay. Are we charging, how did we do that? I truly don't remember. So
Went
I'm
back
just
and
trying to
forth
look at the revenue side, what expectations we would have for future revenue. But to address Counselor Bachschnider with a question, so last year we budgeted 985, and if you look at what's the year-to-date, Megan, on that? I gotta find it again.
Sorry, when this report was run, the year-to-date on the, do you mean the year-to-date on the transfer?
Yes,
So far, I only have made the transfers that we've budgeted for. And we'll see when the year end comes in, what the total will be.
so how much have we transferred in of that 985 so far?
So, sorry, blind. 820, 833, 30. So far, we've done
So
the
we
transfer.
probably will transfer in the full amount, plus still be in the negative.
Yes.
How do we deal with that negative?
So that'll be a year-end auditing transfer, basically, where the general fund will transfer in the rest of the.
And if we don't have money in the general fund to roll up into that, what happens?
So if we don't do that transfer, then the
I mean, what if we're over
The fund will be
transfer?
negative, basically. So that's,
So I think that's your question. Are we budgeting enough for the subsidization? And that I don't know.
No, we definitely could increase the levy to give them more money, but is that something you guys really want to do?
And I think a lot of this is gonna have to go, like, we're gonna have to probably have some further discussions about operational issues there and what we're gonna be doing, but, one of the things, what did I address? Was it the marketing budget where there wasn't a lot of expense this year?
We did talk about that.
Marketing and advertising, okay. So we budgeted 60,000 for expense. And year-to-date, and this is for the end of November, Megan, so year-to-date, we have expensed 29,000, so half of that. And we only have 1 month to go, so,
And I talked to Brian about it, and he said the reason they didn't expend a lot of it is because they knew they were going to be over on other areas, so they left it kind of a buffer for their budget.
so maybe we should adjust closer to true numbers, and I don't know if that's the goal and objective for
sure could.
tonight, but I was just trying to answer this question that was on the piece of paper here. But every year, is there a way that we can show year over year any improvements and then the true subsidization? Like if we've been, I feel like we've always been over what we said we were going to be transferring in.
That's why we increased it to 1.3, because that's one of the things that Standard & Poor's was looking at, was that we aren't budgeting enough to cover the transfer in. So that's why Sherry suggested we increase it to over $1 million rather than the 985 we had it at, because we need to
By
basically
doing
address that.
that, Britt, is that going to further raise questions about continuously subsidizing? Because that was one of the two, the ambulance and the IPMEC. Is that a solution for it, or?
It is actually, because that was their concern, was that we aren't being realistic about what we need to contribute to keep this community center basically running, was part of the discussion we had with them. And so that's why it's important that we do keep it over the 1.3 million that we have in there, so that we can show that we're trying. We're going to bring this up.
And so I guess I'm not understanding, the projected loss is now 1.5 million, even though the last 2 years the losses were 1.7. So did we go negative each of those years, and how did we account for that if there was no money from the general fund to transfer into that, to the Iron Trail Motors Event Center?
yeah, the fund has been negative every year. So there's not the general fund transfers in what it can. Other than that, it is, and that's why the Standard & Poor's concerned, because other than that, the general fund has been putting cash into it. And so that's why they want us to budget for, realistically budget for that. So then we're not using our reserves for supplementing that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you, Mayor. I think, Britt, to answer your question, and this is my opinion and my opinion only, but when you asked, we could raise the levy in order to supplement that, I guess I just want to make it, in my opinion, very clear to every person in this room and listening at home that I do not support raising the levy any additional for the Iron Trail Motors Event Center, and we need to look at cutting expenses elsewhere. And I feel very, very strongly about that, and so I just wanted to let you know my opinion on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor Bachschnider. Okay. Moving on to the next bullet point by the citizen. It says, as of 10 a.m. this morning, the current tax statements say the Armory in Virginia is delinquent in taxes for 2024 and 2025 in the amount of $15,294.51. This is not part of the city's project development agreement, has absolutely nothing to do with the Iron Trail Memorial Event Center or the potential hotel that's being scheduled to negotiation for a new development agreement. This is a private purchase, a private sale, and it's not tied into any of our project whatsoever. This is one private owner that has a tax amount that's owed, is required to pay that, and it has nothing to do with the city. The next one is in this week's agenda packet. It says that the proposed hotel size is now downsized from 160,000 square feet to no less than 46,000 square feet. That's 1/4 the size of the original proposal. The reason for that is that the new project development agreement, the 160,000 square feet included some additional apartments that were going to be built, standalone entities that would be one after the hotel was built. This 46,000 square feet is only for the hotel itself. And as we move forward and talk about a project development agreement, this is kind of what we're looking at right now. It's excluding any apartments or any other additional structures on that land associated with the original intent of the developer. So this is only for the hotel, the 46,000 square feet. Is that correct? Yes, thank you. It is, thank you. Okay, and the next one is, where is the portion of the Virginia development coming from? The original amount of city portion was $5 million. Are the taxpayers now paying for a hotel? No. $5 million is an investment made by the IRRR. And once this project comes to fruition, and hopefully it will, and as we start out with this project, the monies associated with that comes from the IRRR as an investment in economic development in the city of Virginia. So hopefully that answers the citizen's question. Let's move on to the regular part of our city budget. Just on a side note, and not that it makes any difference to some of the residents out there, and maybe some councilors or some people that have a concern about the Iron Trail Memorial Event Center. Of course, we all do. We all want to try to do the best we can to reduce the expenses there and increase the revenue. It's a huge challenge, as it is. And I did have Brett survey a number of event centers throughout the north part of Minnesota to see where they are at in their budget as well. And every single one of them is operating as a deficit too, sometimes much more than what we are. So it is it's not an anomaly here, but it's a concern within our organization. We're not concerned about what the other communities are doing, but just on a side note, these other communities are struggling as well. And in this mayor's letter that we all approved for tomorrow night's meeting, a packet with this letter is going to be for the meeting tomorrow, and it kind of outlines some of the challenges that we've had with respect to that, as far as economic development goes. So it comes from the state down to us, but the trickle-down effect is the buck stops with the city, and we have to make every conceivable effort we can to try to reduce our expenses at the Iron Trail Memorial Event Center. I agree with you, Councilor Buckschneider, that we should be raising the levy to accommodate this, find other ways to which cut, and we'll continue to try to do that. So hopefully that answers the citizens' questions. And so with that being said, let's move on to other parts of the budget. Anybody have anything else as we try to wind down answer any questions and bring down what we're trying to do here for tomorrow's final set the budget in the levy? Councilor Motley.
Just a couple of things. I second Councilor Bachschneider on not raising the levy. Also, after hearing you say you talked to other cities and event centers, were we the smallest city of the event centers because I'm curious which towns you talked to.
If I don't have it before, we could give that to you, but Duluth, Engelstad Arena, the Sanford Center in Bemidji, the Hibbing Arena, a few others.
Okay,
So I'll have to give you that information.
I'm just curious because we're the smallest one, and I would be curious if we were shooting the most negative with the smallest population.
Well, we'll get you the information so you can have a clear
Thank you.
accounting of that, yeah.
And then another thing, just food for thought. When departments go over on their budget and the money is being subsidized from wherever, I think that the council should be aware going forward if a
department is going over budget, we should be made known of that, and a resolution should come forward. I think this taking money from other areas and not knowing where it's coming from to subsidize an over budgeted department should be made known to us going forward.
And I think to some extent we do that. You see the weekly, you see the monthly reports that shows what percentage we are within that budget. Are they 40%? Are they 30%? Are they 60% of their budget? And all that's associated with that. And I think it's up to the department heads and our finance director to monitor that. And if they're getting close to going over their budget, that we should certainly be informed of that, and I think we will be. But that point is well taken. Please continue, Councillor Motley.
Well, I just feel like in being told we have $1.2 million and then the next week it's not there, makes me concerned. So I want to know where the money's going and where it's coming from, and I want truthful information. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I also am still standing strong on the fact that I think we need to reduce our library budget. And even if we did reduce it to the state mandate, we're still paying more than every city around, so including the larger ones that are bigger than us. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Motley. Councillor Bachschnider?
Thank you. My first question, I just want to make sure we're all looking at the same packet since we got two versions. Are we all looking at the one with 55 pages on it? I was looking at the wrong one, I think, at first. Okay, perfect, the one with 55 pages. Thank you. Second question, I'm wondering if, for the purpose of this meeting, if we can go through then pages 2 through 7 first to kind of level set everything, and then skip out of order to address the departments where our department heads are currently here for, and then after that they can stay, just because I know this might take longer than we all would maybe like to be here, but then at least our department heads can, we can go through their budgets and they'd be good to go. Would that be okay?
Certainly. Pam?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to let you know that the two packages are because the smaller one is all the updated information compared to what was in the previous, at the previous meeting.
Thank you, that's really helpful to know.
This is the same packet from 16th, and then this smaller one is all the updates, or the changes that were made.
Okay, so then we should look at the smaller packet first, pages probably 2 through 7 still? Nope. Yep.
2 through
2
9.
through 9, 10, 11.
Try to make little check
11.
marks next to what was changed when you get to back pages of.
No, I'm good, thanks. Yeah, if we could look at then the smaller packet, pages 2 through 11 first with that breakout. And thank you, Pam. That's helpful.
Councillor Paulson?
Thank you. I just, I don't understand, Britt, what is intergovernmental, $9,372,913?
LGA, mining effects, and there's another.
So that's our LGA coming
Plus
in.
mining effects.
Mining
plus-
effects.
Yeah, there's mining effects monies
Okay.
that come in there too.
So that's what you consider intergovernmental.
That's what the summary report calls it, is intergovernmental.
Thank you.
Go on page 4, they're kind of broken down into those kind of sections. It includes local government aid, taconite production tax, taconite municipal aid, MSA maintenance, the miscellaneous grants for police, the $5,000, state aid, fire aid, state police aid, and then IRRB grants.
Counselor Paulson?
Mayor, since we are approving the Sprint Medic purchases, where would we find, it says fire training grant, page 4, federal fire training grant state, but I don't see any allocation in 24, 25, or 26. Where would we be finding that allocation, since we're reflecting the expense of the Sprint Medic?
So those that go into I'm sorry, that was too close, the ambulance fund. So if you go to the ambulance fund, those will be state grants. It'll be under the state grant line.
This is just general fund that we're looking at, these first few pages.
Okay. So those are classified ambulance expenses? Okay, so then when the Sprint Medic, where do we, so we won't really go through that on the general fund side of it. But when the ambulance is negative, that's, how do we make up for that?
The same way we've been making up for it with the
The
event
general
center.
fund
Yeah,
subsidizes that.
and that's, again, part of the Standard and Poor's was planning for the can't say the word, paying for the ambulance fund.
Okay, all right, thank you so much. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you. Two things that I have on page 2 of the packet under the other financing sources uses. I still don't think we should be budgeting $600,000 in that expense for the sale of assets. I've asked the last couple meetings, do we know what the actual dollar amount has been and what that's been?
Yes, I know this year we're at 183,700 something, and I do know, I did call Sherry to ask her what that was. It was the 1402 building. We were hoping to sell it this year, and we didn't get that done. So she put it in next year's budget, because we're really hoping to be done with VEDA next year and have that money come in.
So this year, the actual amount is 183,000. So I think that needs to be reduced significantly.
We know we are going to sell 1402. We've been trying to, and I know Councilor Paulson's on VEDA, so she can attest to that. We're trying to get rid of that building. We're waiting for the EDA to release, the federal EDA to release it.
And do we think that it's going to be in the $600,000 range?
We know it's a $1.2 million value building.
Okay, thank you. And then the second question that I have, going back to the intergovernmental. So on page 4, the IRRB grants, the bottom line there at $310,000. If we do receive a grant from the IRRB, I don't believe, and I could be wrong, but I don't believe that goes to our general fund. That would be going to a project fund. So I don't know if,
Depends on where it was spent and what it's paying back for.
okay, do I still feel uncomfortable using that 310 in this budget because IRRB grants are budget, or are project specific typically. So it's hard to say what we're going to get. It could be more, it could be less, but since it's project specific typically, that's why it gives me pause, and I don't want to see it in here, at least not at that level.
Yeah. Can I add?
Yeah, Counselor Paulson.
Thank you.
Yep.
So I don't know if this would be the location, but VEDA has been funded by the IRRB to about that amount. And I don't know if that's going to continue,
We sure hope so. I mean, that's,
but that we have been getting, but I don't know, Britt, is that line item, is that for VEDA? Is that what that amount is for?
I would suspect, because that's been the most consistent grant that we've had, and it's, having that dollar amount in there.
And that's annually?
That is an
Annually.
annual. And so there were a couple other communities, and I don't know about in 2020. No, that happened in 2024. There were a couple communities that didn't use the amount that the IRRB awarded them because they couldn't put the programs together. And our program was already working and very successful. So they awarded us an additional, was that 150,000? Or 100 oh, Jenny's here. 103?
103,000.
Yeah, so I
What
don't,
we already had from them, so yeah,
So-
it's been,
so you're here. Is that about accurate, the 310?
Jenny, for the purposes, Jenny Boubinet, our Community Planning Director. Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Paulson. Approximately, I mean, it does vary year to year. We do have a lot of projects that are going on, which is what kind of gets us that funding. We do have, some match components in terms of other areas where we get that to submit applications to IRRB so that they support this program specific to VITA. And again, over the last probably 2.5 years or so, we've been very successful in awarding those grants. And IRRB has been very supportive of that. So I would say it's a good ballpark figure, in my opinion.
I just wanted to add that because I think that's where it was.
One question, Jenny.
Thank you. Jenny, one more question. Counselor Buckschneider?
Thank you, and maybe it's for you and maybe it's for Megan or Britt, but is VITA under the general fund? Like, is this the right place for this to be? Or is VITA
So VITA itself is not under the general fund, but what happens is a lot of these IRRR grants that we get for the economic development are under the general fund. So what happens is they're pass-through grants for most of our projects. So we get the money in from IRRB that goes into the general fund under IRRB grants, basically, and then it goes out through economic development assistance. So a lot of them are passed through. We do get grants that are not project-specific, that would be.
So then do we have matching expenses to make up for the 3 to 10 in the revenue under?
Generally, yes.
And
It's
those are
usually because
listed?
the IRRR funds are dedicated to something, not necessarily a project fund. It could be something pass-through grant or something in the general fund. We would have matching expenses for that, depending on what it's allocated to.
Especially because IRRR requires a match, right? So we should essentially have double.
They don't necessarily require a match, but we will have expenses going out matching the funds that we get in. So it wouldn't be like an additional match necessarily, but it would be funds going out because it's dedicated funds.
Okay, thank you.
And it's an investment to a project that we have or a process that we have for certain types of projects that if they give us 150, you don't have to have exactly 75,000 or whatever. It's just to show that we are contributing to this project and it's not being fully funded by the IRRB.
Correct.
Thank you. Jenny?
I have nothing further, Mayor, unless you have questions of me.
I think we're good. Thank you, Jenny. Councilor Bachschneider?
Thank you. I'm not sure what page everyone else is on right now, but I'm on page 6. About halfway down, we have the sale, general fixed assets, and sale of surplus equipment. That would be the matching to page 2 that I was talking about. Is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Counselor Paulson?
Mayor, so I guess I moved on to page 7, under public safety. And it just kind of reminded me that we were going to start a new public safety, would it be a building? And then do we have estimation of, utilities, how that's going to be split up, or how are we going to do that? And however we do it, or however you guys do it internally, is that within the budget expenses for 2026?
I believe so. I believe you had a budget for the Public Safety Center in there. Yep.
Okay, and then what happens to the old fire hall? Because do we still pay utilities we still have to pay utilities on that? So you'll keep a separate line item for that one?
There is a very small dollar amount in there. We expect that they'll go down to very low heat and very
Yep.
little bit usage,
Okay,
minimal usage.
minimal usage on that.
And I think the goal and objective here is that once the fire EMS moves off officially 100% over to the new public safety building, that there's not going to be any steam conversion of that building. Steam is going to be shut off. They're going to put some Modine heaters in there to keep it warm enough to maintain the integrity of what's left in the building, as well as for some cold storage,
Okay.
including the Sprint medical vehicles as well. So, yeah.
But it is within our budget then, the planning forward with the utilities portion in there.
We brought it down from 25,000 for the year to 13, just to cover that little bit of heat that's in there.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Seven, I tried to put little marks on the right-hand side showing which ones were adjusted. It would be the city council went down a little bit because we took out the travel and registration, I believe. That one, and then recreation.
Counselor Paulson?
Mayor, so again, still on page 7, under streets and highways, and then the third item down, trucks and equipment debt service. We have a budget for 26 of $156,788. Is that for purchases already made, or is that for purchases that we're planning?
That's existing.
So that's existing debt on existing equipment. And then the breakdown on, where did you put the, like the radio leases, all the different, are those in the department itself?
It is. So it's on page, if you go to page 10 and 11, they're the darker blue highlighted areas. The page 10, this is if we were to do the Motorola, I will have to change this if we decide not to agree with the Motorola at this moment. We'll go down a little bit.
The dark blue debt service, principal and interest,
Yep.
fire. So before I would say yes to fund that, I would want to see how many grants come forward.
100%.
And then, is that, okay, so like the last meeting, you had said that you split it across police, fire, and ambulance. But now it's in here. So is it removed from their budget?
Well,
Do you know what I mean? Because it can't be in two places, so are we,
listed on here to show that where the payment's coming from, but it's still in the debt service.
so you're listing the payment out of their budgets? So that would actually have to come out if in fact, have we decided on that
We
purchase
haven't,
yet?
no, and that's why, but I thought I better use the higher number just in case for discussion purposes. If we go down, I can make that change
So
tomorrow.
just hypothetically, say that gets removed until, because we still have 1 year, do we have one more
one more
year on the
year,
lease? So we could work on it for a little time, because I know Chief sent them message 3 to 6 months for any grant response. So, but when we're already budgeted, what was it, Pam, 36,000 is the lease payment?
7 something.
37,000. So if you reduce, Britt, in theory though, if you're reducing on page 10, just say I don't want to have this conversation, but just say we hold off on this and we get some grant dollars or whatever. That whole line item, which is the principal and the interest, would be removed, as well as between the ambulance, police, and fire, that would be removed out of their payment back for the lease,
It would go back to the $37,000, which I can try to find out.
which has already been budgeted into the past years, right? Since the lease began, we adopted that in. So that would be
Yeah, it's much reduced, yeah.
so that would be another decrease.
Another decrease, correct.
Okay, so I don't know, that's something, are we voting on that tomorrow?
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
Okay. So I guess that's where I wanted to know how that's being allocated, but, because with the last time we talked, I did not see it spread out evenly between the ambulance, fire, and the police to equal that $110,000 payment. So I don't know that I feel comfortable doing that, knowing that we have 1 year further on those leases. But what I think really killed me was that interest was, that I think it was almost $250,000 in interest. And I think that's crazy to total $800,000 plus 250. I just can't, I think that's crazy. So that's just my opinion on it, but I don't know what we do with it when we're having the budget discussion now. I would just rather see a little bit, wait and to see if we get money from grants on that one.
Yes, thank you, Counselor Paulson. So it's in the budget for the purposes in the event we don't get any grants, right? I mean, even though we have a year left on the lease at $37,000 per month, that's going to be forgiven, right, the 1 year? Start in 27, right?
January of 27, so you have to budget for it in 26 to make the payment in
Right,
January.
and so that's what we're doing now. Thank you.
You only get levy money in June or July and December.
Yeah, and if we don't get grants, then that we continue forward. If we do get grants, that becomes a decrease. Thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you. So I'm on page 8 and 9 right now. Under the, so we have no, okay, Britt, on top of page 8, under debt service, there's nothing there. How come? And am I missing something?
Well, it's under that category, in the culture and recreation category.
Am I missing a page?
No, it just broke off funny. That's the last two lines of the culture and recreation from the page before.
Oh, okay.
We don't have any debt service.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying
No, that's a
to
great question, and I apologize, I didn't realize.
No,
it
no, no,
was
that's
so
okay.
funny.
So then on the library budget, so in 2024, we were at $1,053,850. It increased in 2025 to $1,089,827. And this year, the proposal, is this with the decrease that you proposed the last meeting we had? So the budget would be at $1,029,835. And that was cutting a total of how much? The difference, it says, from 25 is a reduction of $59,992. But the actual reduction that you had referenced, I don't know if I got that. But then I think you had mentioned it was 49,000, so I just don't, I want to make sure that
I thought it was,
the numbers are
remember what
accurate.
the dollar amount was that I was? I can tell you from November, we had, in November 14th, we were looking at $1,105,397 in the library. Now we're down to $1,029,000, so it's,
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so it was further reduced. So I'm just going through with my own thoughts and then if whatever anyone wants to add, but, okay, so then if we go on to page 9, again, I'm gonna ask Mayor, on the Quad Cities Rec Center, which is the curling club, is there any way we can revisit that? Or is this contract in perpetuity for the life of the cities and the curling club?
Well, in preliminary discussions with legal, we're committed to that as a Quad Cities collaborative between the 4 communities, and it's allocated based on the establishment. I can't remember when the curling club opened, but we pay the largest portion of that to the Rock Board. I think our allocation, if I remember correctly, is $48,000 a year.
Got a $20,000, $20,000 a year.
Yeah, 20,000. Okay, that may be the total of what everybody is at, but we pay $20,000, yeah. We pay the majority of the costs associated with that to help operate the club. There is a,
I thought they were doing pretty good in their budget.
we are sitting on the Rock Board, yes, the budget is pretty good. It's in good shape. There's some savings in the back. There's some investments that are there. Most of it's for maintenance and new construction, particularly example for a new roof is going to be like, I know exactly the amount at that last board meeting. It needs a new roof. It's going to be $295,000. All the lights that are in there are ballast, and they have to be by law removed because they're no longer legal. So insurance won't cover, so all those have to be replaced as well. Now, I'm not saying that that's the entire amount that's sold, but it's a maintenance budget moving forward. They do well in the wintertime in the curling season. The bar works as well. They lease the restaurant out. And yeah, there's a healthy budget. I can get you the financials if you like and make sure that's
I'm just
available for
wondering
you.
if we could have the discussion again, like, how, like, was this agreement forever in perpetuity? Like,
Well, I think we could revisit the allocation that we have. I don't know what kind of adjustment can be made for that, but I would entertain.
no, it was wonderful, World
have-
Curling. I'm not saying, negating any of that. I'm just looking at our budget, wondering
Well, and looking.
what we can reduce.
And did talk to him about that at the last board meeting, and how can I tactfully put this? It was a we have a allocation that we signed on to this agreement moving forward. The agreement can always be changed and reconfigured as well. We own, the Quad Cities owns the building. There's an issue with respect to the taxes now. You know, it was never taxed before. Never paid taxes on it. Now we got a bill from the county, and we don't have a tax bill yet, but we didn't get a preliminary tax statement. But now, after investigating it, we're trying to make an adjustment to ensure that someone with a 501c3 status can continue to operate things. Can we do that with the city still owning it? That's still being researched by Mr. Lewicki, the attorney for the club, and then Mr. Deal, the attorney for the Rock Board itself, so, or vice versa. So can that allocation be changed? We could talk about that. The lease is going to be changed, all those kind of things.
I would
are
love to have
being
that
done.
be part of the conversation.
Yeah, we
when
could
that
certainly
happens.
do
That
that.
would be great.
And I think we
And
can.
maybe, I'll put my foot in my mouth, but maybe, hopefully we wouldn't end up paying more because I asked for that.
Well, it all depends upon whether or not taxes have to be paid on that
Right.
building. We think maybe there's a way in which we can continue with an exemption that was never actually granted from the very beginning. And that building is valued at $3.5 million. So whatever tax associated with that, the cities would be responsible for it because our argument would be, and we're still doing the research, the Wiki and the others, that this is a collaborative, a municipal collaborative, and that the city should be exempt from paying any taxes in that regard. So they're working on that right now to determine that. But that being said, revisiting that allocation and consideration would be something that we should have legal take a look at.
We still have to maintain for 26.
Well,
26.
right, I think the allocation is sent in January of every year for that amount of money.
And then my final point, real quick on page 9, again, and I brought this up a couple different years, is Iron Range Youth in Action, and now it's just called Youth in Action. I just never thought this should be allocated from the city's general fund. I think if they would like donations, they could go to VITA, which would be the fundraising, or not the fundraising, but the donation entity. I don't think that the city, and I think Pam and I, this crosses over with the chamber and that same type. And I'm not saying not to give them the $500. I just think that it should be allocated out of an EDA instead of the city's general fund.
And when the city made that decision to move that in there, the argument was, or the justification, I should say, was that this was potentially a governmental conduit, because they were doing things for the government, community, learning about government. But that was the impetus for putting that in the budget, and I think a councilor made that motion and it passed through, and I don't know why it's continuing to be in that budget, but that's the way it began. And so the
I would
it's
ask that-
$500 a year.
I would just ask that be removed, and then potentially, VITA could fund some, it's only $500, but I've always felt that it should never have been in the general fund.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
And that's all I have for those couple pages. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councilor Paulson. Councilor Bachschnider.
Thank you. Going back to the 310,000 from the IRRB, on page 9 here under economic development expenditures, we have the VITA levy included and then some taxes as well, but I'm not seeing the matching expense for the IRRR grant.
It would depend on what it is. I mean, it's like a lot of the downtown businesses, we don't even do the match, they do. Steam conversions, we don't even give the money, they just use their own money as the match to the.
So all $310,000 is that we don't need a matching expense at all for it.
I don't know what that's gonna be, what the $310,000 is gonna be for quite yet. It's all gonna be VITA, or if it's gonna be something else, or if it's gonna be money for a grant opportunity, because they do have funding for grant writing. I mean, I don't know exactly what it's gonna be quite yet.
But it won't require a matching fund as we, as
It would have to be approved if you guys wanted to do one, but it would be something. we would
So
have-
the money's allocated, and we use it to expend. If we want to have another project that exceeds that, we would match some funds to accommodate that, correct? All right, thank you. Counselor Mark Snyder?
I guess I'm just, that's what I was asking a little bit ago, is what's it going for? Is it a project fund? And like we said that it was going to VITA.
Usually, that's usually what it is, about $310,000. The VITA match is not half one-to-one.
But now we're
It's
saying we
actually-
don't know what it is. So which one is it? Is it VITA or do we not know?
We're praying it's going to be VITA. We were hoping they continue, like Julianne said, that they're going to continue the program year after year after year. We're on phase 7, so we've been doing quite a few of these. We hope that they're going to do that again. We hope the $310,000 is coming in. We hope that we're going to be able to do that.
And, go ahead.
And these are primarily for downtown revitalization grants, helping businesses continue to prosper in the downtown area, and not just the downtown area, in the community as well. So this is $310,000.
I can't say it's going to be an economic development line item. Like, it could be infrastructure or something. It could be something different than non-economic development.
And it could be through VITA, an economic development piece of some sort, not necessarily for the downtown renovation. Could be used for something else. That allocation normally comes to VITA, correct? All right, thank you. Counselor Boxnader.
I guess my concern is I don't like budgeting $310,000 on a hope, right? Like that's my concern, and I get that that's what's been happening, but we also have to look at the state of our economy and the businesses that are no longer operating, and I just feel uncomfortable budgeting on a hope, and that's just my opinion. And if others are fine with it, then it's fine, but I just have concerns. Thanks.
Counselor Paulson.
Okay, so if we don't budget, because that's like budgeting for revenue. If we don't budget it, what does that do to the,
Just trying to figure that out too.
how does that tip the scale? And then under the page 9, Britt, then on the VITA levy transfer out. So that's the debt, but isn't that a debt service?
So
So
part of it is, that's the levy we've already approved at the hearing in September.
that's
the
coming out of the
EDA.
general fund into the E EDA.
That's the EDA fund. It's an EDA levy. It comes to the general fund, and the general fund gives it to VITA.
Yep.
So that's what that is it comes in and goes out.
So that's just the allocation of it.
Yeah, that's 101,000, whatever it is.
0.01,
.003.
yeah.
Yeah, something.
Which equates to 100 and some thousand dollars, yeah. Okay.
Because our tax base increased in 24, because, so then we get a percentage based on that for the VITA levy.
Okay, then I might have one more adjustment too then on that, page 9, under the VEDA and taxes. Jenny, is that allocation, the 4,000 specifically for VEDA, or was that also for taxes? Because we probably won't be paying any taxes. Was that just the city's contribution in?
Jenny, can you help us there?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Paulson. Yes, that's the city contribution in. It used to be 8,000 when we had 2 buildings, and we cut it to 4,000 when we got rid of 1404. So the 4,000 would be from us, and then 4,000 from Evelith.
From Evelyn. And then there's no taxes associated with that going forward, right?
Correct.
Okay. It's like, that can't be adjusted, I guess. Maybe soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you, Counselor Paulson.
Counselor Bachschnider? Oh. Okay, did he just step out, or? Oh.
Counselor Paulson?
So, 3 questions going forward on pages 10 and 11. The senior center, we allocated 20,000. What do we typically expense or spend on the senior center? And I don't know what the budgeted numbers equal.
Typically, at the senior center, we pay utilities and repairs.
And do we typically use the 20,000?
That I don't know. Let me take a look.
And are we facing a steam conversion on that building? It is converted, okay.
Did the public utilities loan for that?
So just curious about the, if we use that full 20,000, or if that can be, so maybe that can be looked into. The next thing I have then is down on, so this would be under page 11, other financing uses. We've got the, I see the transfer out, the VITA, so in and out. Then the trails and lakes,
I actually cut that out, so that's,
that you need to take that.
it's out on pages 9 and.
That's what I was wondering, because I didn't see it in there. And, okay, and then the P and H abatement, when does that,
That's an in and out too, and it's almost done.
is it sunset when?
Yeah, let me look here real quick. It's soon,
Like within the next couple of years?
2030, yeah, I think so. That sounds right. It's getting smaller. I mean, this was a
smaller.
definite decrease than last year.
Okay.
So it's getting down to the end.
Okay, then the last one is the OPEB investment, 40,000 allocated. What is that 40,000? Like, how do we decide how much we're putting into OPEB? And where does that come from?
That is an allocation from the general fund. I don't recall how we decided it was $40,000 every year. I do recall several years back that was a thought. I don't know what the basis of that was. It is
That's just to
to
keep
get it to be fully funded.
investments.
Yeah, it goes
going.
it's an investment. It is the,
Is that,
We have to allocate funds for other post-healthcare retirement benefits, right? That's what it's for.
so is it based on a formula? I guess that's what I'm asking.
Actuarial does a review every year on
Yeah.
it, and so they tell us what we need to be at. And we've been at the point that we haven't had to increase. It's been the same payment.
So it's been this, that's why I was wondering how
the
that's
same payment for,
figured out.
gosh, I think since I've been here.
right.
Okay, so that's 40,000 just, and it's based on some formula that.
Yeah, and we can get you the actuarial study, but they do a very boring, awful study every year. It's really hard to read.
Okay, that doesn't need to be increased, it can stay the
Nope,
same.
and that's what the point of it is, that you're doing great, stay where you are.
Just
We're
stay where we
almost
are.
at the top of the bell curve, and then we'll start.
we'll start coming
going
down.
So we're waiting for that point that we get there, and it's gonna come down. so.
Okay, then I guess for me, it would go back to page 10 on the radios, what we're gonna do with that going forward.
Back down.
Then what is the darker blue Brit under the street lighting?
That's the Amoresco lease,
So
the debt service. We have
that's
those two.
debt service,
Huntington,
but
yeah.
it's gonna change now?
Goes up and down as the years, we're getting to the midpoint of that too, so it's gonna start decreasing as well.
Can you explain how that works one more, like, how do we get, there was an equilibrium point where we save a lot of money?
Every year, they do a study to make sure that we are making the maximum value that they told us we were gonna get. And if we don't, they pay us. And I believe last year they paid us. This year, they don't have to. This year, we're making the money again. But, so we get back anything that we,
So how
Don't
about for
make.
26, will we have anything that we get back?
we shouldn't. We should, everything was, well, we might actually, when the steam conversion happens, we might get some money back because our costs might go down. Or, yeah, it's a good question.
So that's just a based on an,
Yeah, and the utilities does transfer us some funds for
Okay.
that, so that is where you see on one of the front pages where it says a $60,000 transfer in from, that's the utilities paying for the street lighting portion, because they retain all the credit for the street lighting from the electrical company. And so they pay
they
us
keep
that.
track of that,
Yeah,
okay.
yep.
Because that one was confusing.
It was a very confusing process.
And the only other thing that I feel like then would be the radios. I don't know how you want to do that, but.
You know, knowing that the chief seemed fairly confident too, when she spoke to the Gary Sinise Foundation, that they were very excited to talk to us, and they said to give them 3 months to take a review. I think that's a good sign. You know, I think it's, yeah, I think stick with the 1 year for the regular radios again and then work it next year. That's just my opinion.
Councilor Buckschneider?
Thank you. I apologize. I'm still on this IRRB grant, just thinking about it in my head. So what I'm not tracking is if we're getting $310,000 in and we're gonna give that money to a downtown business, like, it's not really revenue to us. We're giving it out to other businesses, and even if we are using it for one of our projects, that's probably something that, like, do we have that project budgeted and it's offsetting what's being budgeted? So for that reason, this is a special meeting, so I do believe I can make motions. Is that accurate? So I would make a motion to either remove the $310,000 or add a matching expense for IRRB grants at $310,000.
Okay, motion by Councilor Buckschneider. Do you have that, Pam? Is there support? Is there support? Is there support? Motion fails for lack of support. Councilor Beyondich.
Britt, could you explain where that expense would come? How would that be worked in? Because I understand what you're saying, but I'm not sure how that would be worked in.
Well, if it's going to be Vita, then it's usually the Vita side of the, so that 101,000 would be part of what would be matching that. If that's where we're hoping we're going to get. We do know we have 1.5 million coming for various projects, but those are again, project-related things.
But as far as that 300 from IRRB, because you're not quite sure where it's slotting
We are
into.
hoping and praying it's going to be for steam conversions, because we know we have some very large buildings that need to be converted, the hotel, Cheney Square, Trenti.
Have they approached you at all?
Oh, yes.
So is that something that could be done? Or do you have to wait to see what it is going to be used for?
What do you
Or
mean?
you can offset that?
We can certainly offset it, but that's going to be a 7.5% increase in the levy, or have 7.5% increase in our expenses to put another $310,000 in there. Or a 7, 1.5% decrease in our levy if we took it out. And where am I going to take that out of? I mean, let's.
Counselor Buckstader?
Thank you. I guess the point I'm trying to make is this 300, in my understanding of this and what I'm going through in my brain, this $310,000 isn't really revenue to us, right? Like, this is not, if we're using it to give out other grants for other businesses to convert, and that's what you're saying right now, that's not really money that's coming to us. So is it really an increase in our levy, or is it just accurately reflecting what we've had to do every year, which is tap into our reserves? Because that's what we've done every year. We're tapping into our reserves over and over and over again because the revenue line is not accurate, and that is my concern.
So are we, this $310,000, is that a levy? No, right? It's
Just
not
in
a
the
levy.
revenue, just in this vegetable revenue.
It's called revenue coming in from the IRRB. And I think I'm tracking what you're saying, Counselor Bucksteiner, that this isn't actually revenue that we're getting. It's just an allocation of a grant that can be used for other things, whether it's downtown business revitalization or if we find something that's specific. And so the allocation of the $310,000, which has been going on, the IEEE gives us that allocation funds for us to utilize at our discretion, correct? And normally, the $310,000 is going to VITA. Is that correct?
VITA's been the one that's been applying, yes.
Okay. So the question is revenue, are we budgeting for that? I mean, it's $310,000 that may come to us or may not. Right? Counselor Paulson?
Thank you. So the way that I understand it is that the IRRB, it is revenue in form of they give the money to the city. So the city holds that money. It's the expense side, but you can't say it's a full 310 expensed and zero that out because you don't know how many participants take part in the program, or if it's part of the, can that go to the no interest loan?
That's, yeah.
So you may be getting monthly payments back on that revolving loan fund as well, because that's, the beginning of that was for the revolving loan fund.
Correct, because our loans are actually, our downtown loans are actually loans. They're actually mortgages on the properties.
So the city is physically getting, it may or not be 310, but they are physically getting a check from the IRRB, am I correct? Jenny?
Allocation, yeah, ACH, but.
Okay, ACH, okay, an allocation.
Yep.
And then those programs exist, so whatever people come forward to take advantage of those programs, or whatever the programs look like, it may be a no-interest loan, it might be a grant. What other programs are there? The
Or storefront.
building design,
Revolving loan, you have design services.
design services grant. So it may or may not be a pass-through completely, but you won't know what is expensed until the participants get approved at the VITA level for the grant dollar or the loan. And I don't know if that, so it's like you can't zero it out on the expense side.
How are you guaranteeing it?
We're not guaranteed anything. I mean, we're not guaranteed that we're going to make, $24,000 in liquor licenses either, but we just guess. I mean, that's what we hope and pray, that we're going to make that. We don't know that.
Okay, just for a moment. Megan?
So, I mean, I guess whether we get 310,000 for other things or not, I don't know for sure, but I know that already we have received a promise of a grant for the Virginia Public Library STEAM conversion of $100,000. That will be going into the general fund. Of course, there will be some expenses to offset that, but already we are looking at those expenses in this budget because they've been part of the planning phase. We're looking at the city hall has $400,000 dedicated to the steam conversion. So already I know that we are looking at receiving those expenses just for basically the planning phase. So is there expenses that are going to go along with that? Yes, but I think they're already in this budget, Bridget, if I'm not mistaken. So I know that already we have $500,000 potentially that will be coming into the general fund for IRRR. There will be expenses that will be incurring, and I think that we're planning for as part of all this, but I mean, it's last year, or this year in our grants so far from IRRR, I think we've gotten 1.7 million, so it's really,
And I get what Councilor Sponge is saying about adding an expense line, but I don't know where to go with it and how to, what to call it. I mean, it's.
Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that a grant is not guaranteed money. It's not guaranteed revenue to us. And we shouldn't be budgeting it unless it's guaranteed. And we're sitting here tonight saying, we hope and pray that we get this money and that they continue to do it. But we don't know that for sure. And even if we do get this money, in how we're describing it right now, I see it as a pass-through at best. It's not, it maybe is gonna come to us, but it sounds like the majority of the time it's not. And so that's why I think under VITA, we should add a matching expense for this, but ultimately I made a motion, there wasn't support. So unless somebody else wants to make a separate motion, I think it's a moot point at this point. So that's what I think. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Megan, so do we know for sure how much money we're getting in money effects taxes for 2026?
That we do.
We know exactly how much we're getting, correct? Yes. And we know exactly how much we're getting in our local government aid allocation, is that correct?
Correct.
We know that. But we don't know for sure if we're getting $310,000. But according to the IRRB, it's money that they say they're going to allocate to us. So that's not a guaranteed money. And I think that's what Councilor Bachschnider is alluding to. It's not guaranteed money. We don't know if we're going to actually get that or not. I mean, you know, you take a risk at percentages. Yeah, we're going to get it. Yes, we're going to give it to you. We don't know that for sure. There's finite revenue that we do know we're getting because we've been promised that it's been allocated. We know we're getting it. We're not getting $310,000. But from my perspective, I suppose from a technical aspect where wording and language goes to $310,000 and how that affects the expenses and revenues moving forward, whether it's a pass-through or not. We get a lot of pass-through. We have some pass-through where money comes in and we pass through. The example is the $3 million for the hospital emergency room. We didn't ask for that $3 million. It was the revenue that we expected to get, but all of a sudden we get that revenue, it becomes a pass-through. That money wasn't our money. It was money that went to a private entity that was held as part of, well, we gave the city of Virginia $3 million. Didn't give the city of Virginia $3 million. It was a pass-through to a private entity. This $310,000 is kind of the same thing. You're getting the $310,000 potentially. We don't know we're getting that or not. We didn't know we were going to get the $3 million either until the legislature passed it. We don't know we're going to get $310,000 until the IRRB passes it. So, I mean, I don't know how that gets allocated or what needs to be, and that's to be done. I guess I'm wondering if that item, you know, it's this $310,000, but still, it should be part of our budget process somehow, and how that's annotated on our financials is, for me, is, you know, neither here nor there in that regard. If the money comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And then our program doesn't continue to operate. The downtown business grant program is gone because the money's not allocated. So whether they do or don't, It's all part of our investment in our community moving forward, Counselor Beyondich.
So this has not been done before then,
It's been done every year.
but you don't offset it.
We've always exceeded.
So I don't see a harm in, I mean, if we know already what dollars would be used for, it should be then added, and it would be under VITA. I think that, is that kind of where we were going with all this, just to have the documentation, because she's right, it is not money coming in as revenue to the city. We're going to turn around and hand it right back out. So it has to have that, so I understand what she's trying to say. It took me a minute to process that, but I do think that if we leave it in there, it does need to have the offsetting with that. So, thank you.
Thank you. Counselor Motley?
Counselor Bachschnider, what was that motion that failed?
I believe it was to either remove the 310 or add a matching expense under VITA.
I will make that motion.
Is there support?
Support.
Support by Counselor Bachschnider. Further discussion? So I'm voting no on the motion because it's either one or the other. It's either take it out or match it. But if you don't, it's got to be, the motion has to be one or the other as far as I'm concerned. Either take it out, that's it, or match it, and then they're done. It can't be both, my opinion, so.
I believe I made the motion as this or that, and for city staff to decide which is best. That was my initial intention,
Oh, that's your intention? Okay.
to be a this or that, not both.
Okay. Further discussion, Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. So I understand exactly what you're saying, and you need an expense, that's why I said, should we add another line? The problem is it's not, like, that doesn't get zeroed out maybe every year. The expense side is gonna be different. So you can't zero it out. That's what I was trying to ask you. Like, if the motion could be, you've got it in here as a revenue, but you don't know what your expense for the year is gonna be till those things are awarded. Do you understand? Or am I not understanding?
Counselor Bachschnider?
No, I understand what you're saying, but I don't think we should count on this 310 in any way. Like, I think that it is a grant that we are simply not guaranteed. We're saying we hope and pray they continue the program.
We already got 500 though, so we need a line item to allocate that 500 for.
And that's to the city and the city only.
And that's been approved by the IRRR, so we do need a line item in there. But you need expense, you need revenue. If it is revenue, you need expense. But depending upon how much is expense, you don't know what to put in the expense side of that line item. I don't know if I'm not making sense, but, I see what you're saying, but if you pull that out, then there's nowhere to put the 500,000 that we are receiving. So I don't know.
I
Yeah,
asked one question. So when the auditors discussed doing the projects, so basically, wasn't the steam conversion, that's going to be a project? So that money, didn't they say, should go into the project and then it's expensed out when the project's done? Is that kind of what they were talking about? So I don't know if the reason behind that is putting it in the general fund. It's in the same checking account, but it's just not in your general fund. I don't know if I'm making any sense.
Well, so
But the project would then be, if you're having $310,000 come in as a grant, regardless if it's expensed at $360,000, you've lost 50 grand or whatever, 40 grand. So whatever the difference is going to be, you should still have the offset. Because you're counting, then if that was the case, you can add revenue anywhere you want to on that side and never take it out on the other, but you're overstating your revenues because you're not expending them. If that makes any sense.
So when we were allocated the $1.5 million from that a couple weeks ago, and that goes primarily for steam conversion, how does that work? Same thing. Same way. So should we take that out too?
In there.
Right? I mean, it's out, right? But it's going to come in.
A project.
It's going to come in. Mhm. So if the $310,000 is allocated to the VITA, they expense it out to the projects that you have the money to for work. I don't understand what the issue. Councilor Bucksteiner.
I think my bigger concern is that in 2024, we were $1.4 million short from our projected revenue. I don't know what the year-to-date is in 2025 for how short we are for our projected revenue, but we are projecting revenue incorrectly. And where and why and how do we get these numbers to be reflected accurately is my concern. And this is one of the larger numbers that I had concern about. And the other one was that 600,000 for selling stuff. And if we feel confident based on discussions, I will let that one go. But this is one that I feel strongly about, that we are using these dollars as a pass-through, which is okay and lovely. I have no problem doing a pass-through for businesses. Like, I have no issue doing that whatsoever. But we can't say it's a part of our revenue when we are getting that money and then giving it to somebody else to do their project. That is my larger concern that I have.
I get where you're coming from. So for me, it's the opposite. It's a $600,000 one that we don't know if we're going to get the revenue from that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Take that one out too. Good with me, right? Like,
Yeah, but the $310,000 is an allocation that, I think that should be left in there. Take the $600,000, I'll leave 310,000 in, but, I mean,
but with the 310, we're getting it and then we're giving it. It's not actually helping our bottom line. That's the concern.
well, how about our local government aid? We're getting
Yeah,
it, and we're allocating it out.
To our expenses, to our bills. The we're paying our bills with the LGA.
Correct.
With the IRRR, we're saying we're gonna give it to businesses to help them through VITA. That's what we've been talking about all night.
Well, yeah, but that was just a piece of it. It doesn't have to go to VITA. It could go someplace else for another project.
But is it?
Well, that's something for us to determine, if we are or not.
If we cut the 310 out of that line, where else do you want it to be? Do we put it back into the levy? Do we increase the levy by 310,000 then to balance the budget, or do I?
I have an opinion and I'm getting there, I guess, but I think it's beyond this discussion.
Well, we have till the 29th to get this discussion done, so I need to know.
No, it's a tonight discussion, but I do believe that we're gonna be talking about the library budget at some point this evening as well.
And I mean, there is definite, cutting the library down 310,000 will result in some AFSCME clauses going into effect. The golf course will be taken over by city staff. The staff that are there that get cut, would have to get cut down to 3 staff members remaining. The remaining staff that get cut will be able to bump people that are already in positions throughout the city. So it'll be a huge ripple. It's not just an easy, library closes 3 days a week and they're only open 2 days. That's not that easy. It's gonna be a very large ripple. It's gonna affect a lot of people in the city.
I do recognize that, and it's not easy decisions that we have to make and not something that I have taken lightly whatsoever.
I'm sorry, I couldn't remember. he was asking for some other revenue thing. I could remember the fiscal disparities. Okay,
That's, yes.
thank you. So where are we?
We do have the motion.
Okay, the motion is, please repeat the motion.
So the motion is to either remove the $310,000 in revenue or add the $310,000 as an expense to VITA, is what I'm hearing.
So does that raise the levy then?
That's what I'm asking. So if I take that 310 out, where am I putting 310 of revenue back in? Or where am I cutting 310 out of expenditures? So either the expenditures have to cut by 310 or the revenue has to go up by 310.
Okay,
We take that line out. And I just cautioned, I said, if your intent is to cut the library by $310,000, that means that we're cutting down to 3 staff members only at that building, which, you know, would be a massive decrease, which would require, which would, AFSCME then has made it very vocal that they will enforce the golf course clause. They will enforce the bumping rights. So those staff members that are there that have more seniority than other staff members throughout the city, they will bump them. And what else? I'm missing Joy. I'm trying to think.
so the understanding is that if we cut the $310,000, then we have to find what way to
We
offset
either have to, find some way to offset it either through expenditures or revenue.
or raise the levy.
Expenditures or revenue, one of the two sides.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion? Been moved and supported. Further discussion? Hearing Megan?
Could I just make a suggestion? that
Absolutely.
If you choose to add the expenses, that you don't dedicate it to VITA, because I think we already know that some of those expenses will not be VITA's expenses. Some of them will be project-related. I would say, you know, if you choose to add the expenses, that's fine, but I don't know that it's a good plan to dedicate that whole amount to VITA, because we don't know that that's where it will go.
Counselor Buckner, then over to Counselor Paulson. Counselor Buckner.
Thank you. I think ultimately we did the or motion, so city staff can identify where it's best to either dedicate that to or remove it to. So if you have suggestions on a different place to dedicate it to, I would be fine with that.
Counselor Paulson?
Okay, thank you. So I just want some clarification. Is this allocation that we're discussing, is this truly the VITA allocation? Is that how this has been done in the past? Like, I said that because it made sense.
It has been, yes. Yes, because the VITA, the grant fund comes to the city. We don't transfer it to VITA's checkbook. We leave it in the city's checkbook. And the city writes the checks to the VITA loan people.
Okay, so if that's the case, there does need to be an expense column. The only issue that I have is that not every time, it wouldn't equal the specific grant. Sometimes it just rolls over until the next phase and the next group and the next tranche, like projects kind of overlap. So I don't know that you can equal one another. Like, I agree that there needs to be an expense column, but you don't know what that expense is until whoever program participants take advantage of the programs or the no interest or the no interest loan. Which then does get, and I don't know do we have a revenue side for that? Do we have a revenue of how much gets paid into that from the loan cycles?
Yeah, so we do. I mean, that's part of the VITA financials as far as the loan cycles.
How does that equate to this?
It all depends on how the money comes in. If the money comes in directly to VITA, then we would put it into VITA and then VITA would pay it out. If it comes into the general fund as like a pass-through grant, which kind of still is the VITA programs, but not really the VITA programs, then it comes into the city as an IRRR grant and it goes out under economic development assistance in the general fund. So they're kind of, depending on what the program is or how it's coming in, it depends on how that's The bookkeeping is done on it.
So I do, but what I would say is we need to know, like now that I'm listening a little bit more to understanding, we also have loan revenue coming in. And I don't know what Jenny, what do you think the average payment is on the 15, if they're doing the full 15? What is it, 350 a month, 150 a month?
Jenny?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Paulson. I think our finance director would probably have the solid numbers on that, but I would say it's between probably 100 and 118 sticks in my mind for some reason. But it would vary, I think, depending on.
So then you've got a little revenue coming in, so that also needs to be allocated because that's revenue that is replenishing. Now, I don't know has that been tracked? It should be tracked.
It should be tracked somewhere, yeah. I don't have those records, but finance should.
It's absolutely tracked. I don't have it in front of me. I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
Okay,
what those
but
numbers
just to
are, but
tighten this
definitely,
whole
yeah.
conversation up a little bit more, if we're getting the grant dollars, there needs to be a line item, whatever the grant dollars are. Then there needs to be an expense line, but we truly don't know what the expense line will be. So again, it's another assumption. So what you're saying or proposing, Counselor Bachschnider, is you want the grant dollars coming in to equal the expense going out.
I just want a more accurate representation of what we are currently doing. And I don't think without a matching expense in some way that saying 310,000 in revenue is accurate.
Accurate. And I would agree with that, so I don't know what we do about that, but I see the need for an expense line.
Thank you. Councilor Beyondich, you had your light on or not?
Did, but I
Okay.
think it's going to make the conversation even bigger. Because as we get grant dollars in, have we tracked accurately the expense? Because we're talking about $10,000? When that grant is, that $310,000 is done from that grant, are we still giving money out? So then why won't it balance? I mean, I don't understand why the balance isn't there. If
Well, number
it
one, they're on fiscal year of July 1, so it's a little different. So while we're starting January 1st, we're applying for another phase in their fiscal year 26, which is really our fiscal year 26. Their fiscal year 27 starts in August, so then it rolls, that's another phase. So there's 2 dips there. And then if you started your steam conversion last year, but you don't get paid till 26, that's what she's talking about. It doesn't always come out at the same time because you're not always taking your pay at the same time.
Has the city funded these projects other than through grant dollars, is I guess what I'm coming to, because your grant, I mean, I work with these grants, they have to, once you're done with grant dollars, you're done with grant dollars. So where is additional money coming from to help?
The loan payments, those are the things that we were just talking about, the loan payments that they pay monthly for those revolving loans.
But this grant dollar thing, that should be an equal balance.
But it depends on when they draw down. You may have secured a loan today for your steam conversion, but you may not be able to get your contractor there till March. So now you're in 26, but you got your grant in 25.
You can't make the note that says this
We
is
do,
from
we
this
do.
grant.
It just doesn't, on our financial notes, our financial audit is 12/31. That's it. So it's a very complicated, I have to work with IRRR and we have to do this whole thing with their end of the year, my end of the year, this spreadsheet and.
I just want to make sure that we are sticking with the grant dollars that are allocated
That's
to
the
the
problem
city,
is
and that's
Right now, we
all.
are out, the next phase of grants we're getting in, the people we're getting in right now, we don't have any money, and we've been telling them that, and they're not happy. But so I keep telling them, call IRRB, you need to call them and tell them to give us the money.
Well, when we get grant dollars, we spend the grant dollars
We do.
for whatever we have. Then when there are no grant dollars left, we don't refund that without having some grant dollars.
Right.
It just ends. It just ends. We're not gonna, if there's more people asking for money, if the grant dollars aren't there, we're not gonna supplement out of our budget for that.
Well, and that's what I'm asking is,
Right,
are we
right.
tracking each grant and how the money is spent? And that's where this extra line would come in. So you could see that last year, if we got $200,000, that one is closed out, it's done. Now we have the new one. And as they're applying, you can make note of where those dollars are going. And that's, I think, what we're getting down to is the tracking of the dollars and making sure that we're not going over and all of it is allocated. I mean, it goes to whatever project it goes to, but there has to be the documentation, the line item to balance that out. It shouldn't be up and down.
Well, sitting on that, what you said on that veto board, I mean, when the money comes, when the grant comes in, they allocate the money, they do all their paperwork, you get all the ducks in a row, the investigation's done, so bankers get involved, the business advisors get involved, the money comes in, they apply for it. They don't get that grant money until they expend and provide the receipts for that. We track, that's all tracked for VITA. All that is available, at just by a click of a button.
And that should be on the line item for the expense side.
Yeah, we could do that, but it is there. What's expended, what comes in, how it's expended, who expended, how many dollars did they get, what they use it for, here's the receipts that were submitted for that, here's the approval by the board for those things. Counselor Bachschnider.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to call the vote.
Counselor Bachschnider calls for a vote. Please read the motion back one more time. Motion by Counselor Bachschnider, supported by Counselor Motley, or no, excuse me. Motion by Counselor Motley, supported by Counselor Bachschnider. Please read back the motion.
To either remove the $310,000 in revenue or for the IRRB grant, or add it as an expense to a dedicated fund.
Okay, one question. If it has to be a 5 vote, right, correct? Right. We have 5 members here, so, okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Aye, motion carries. Thank you. So that brings me to the question after that is, we still have to make a decision on how that works. We take it out or put it back in, there's expense, they're still going to affect the levy. They're going to affect the levy. So there you have it. Okay, any other questions, comments about this issue? So we'll have to have an answer by tomorrow. Because we're going to set the levy then, the budget. So thank you. Any other questions, comments, concerns regarding that issue? Okay, Counselor Paulson.
So I would suggest looking at the current VITA financials and seeing what is in the account. Then you would have to add that with the grant dollars and then minus out assumed expenses. There's more in the checkbook, is there not?
A little bit big.
Like it hasn't zeroed out, or has it for this year? I haven't been to a meeting.
Small, yeah, it's small, but
Okay, so we are almost zeroed out.
I need to do a disbursement request.
So the
Okay.
$310,000, it comes in, say, and we go through all the VITA receipts. All that money's already expended, so you have income coming in, the expenses going out. I don't get it. I don't know what we're talking about here.
It's
Counselor
just
Beyondich.
it's just the documentation of that. Because the way it reads right now, that's money coming into us and that's money to the city. That's not true. that is money going back out. So you have to add that piece to it. And it's all there. All you have to do is add it in, add the line item.
Well, that's why I understand. I don't want to raise the levy as a result of this, right? To use the expenses that were made with Vita. It's a simple thing, in my opinion, unless I'm completely missing here something. Get $310,000 in. The money's sent out. The expenses are brought in. This is how much money we contributed, or we matched the funds. The monies are expenses. Here's the expense, the money come in. If you want to add expensing based upon that, that's fine, but it's not, I just don't want to make sure that the levy is increased as a result of this minor technical adjustment. It's just a simple balance sheet adjustment. I don't understand this whole issue. I mean, I might be missing something here, but I just don't. Well,
Right. And that's all that needs to be done. It doesn't have to be that, I mean, that's not what, it's just balancing it out. It's not revenue to the city,
no, I understand that.
okay? And that's all the motion is, either or. Thank you.
Counselor Paulson.
So I understand what we did, but now I need to understand, did we have an expense line for that? So we've never expensed it. So that is a problem, and we need, because it's a wash, but you may have a balance carried over, like Britt was saying, like when grants happen, the fiscal cycle's different. Your project could start in one year and end on another year. So you may not expense it down to zero for this current budget year for 2026. So that's why I didn't want to vote in favor, because you're not necessarily gonna zero it out and spend $310,000 in that 1 year. However, there needs to be a line item showing money in and money out. That's basically all that we're doing. Whatever the math ends up to be, it ends up to be. But now it affects us because we budgeted that as revenue and without having the expense side.
Well, and the expense comes from the financials from Vita.
I guess so. No, that is accurate. That's the expense side. That's all that, yeah, right, but Jenny just said we're almost down to zero. So we're not carrying something over, like positive into 2026 budget, right? Am I correct in saying
And
that?
we're not expending any more money from the city's budget.
No,
When it's over, it's over. It's done.
but it's not revenue because it's being expensed at some point during the course of whenever the participant takes advantage of the program or the revolving loan program.
Took us a long time to get there. Thank you. Counselor Bachschnider.
You mentioned earlier, and this is me trying to explain it. You mentioned earlier that we, as the city, took $3 million for Essentia. It was a pass-through, we gave it to Essentia. Did we budget that $3 million? No, we didn't know.
That's correct. We did know.
Because
That was
this
the point I
money
was
that
trying
we
to
are
make.
getting is a pass-through. We know about it, but it's still a pass-through.
Mm-hmm.
So why would we budget for it if we are just getting it to give it away?
Well, that was my point.
That's my point.
Yeah. That's my point, the $3 million. We didn't know we were getting it.
But we wouldn't have budgeted even if we did know. Because
may
we would
have.
be giving it away.
Well, we may have budgeted for it.
To just give it away?
Yes. If we would have gone to the legislature and says, we need $3 million to help with an economic development piece for Essentia Health, it would be.
But then we would have a matching expense.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I understand that.
And so we don't have a matching expense for this 310. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I understand that. I was using that other thing as an example to show there's a differentiation between the two.
It's this, there is a differentiation, but it's the same concept because it's a pass-through.
I understand that.
So we got the 3 million, we gave the 3 million, we get the 310, we're giving the 310. That's my point. Like we're We're not paying our bills with that 310,
No,
correct?
I get that.
So we want a matching expense line.
Yeah, but where's that come from?
That's what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying too.
That's why we need it in there.
Well,
We
that's-
have to have it in there.
But that's the purpose of your motion. So if we don't have an expense side, how do we establish the expense? That was my only,
They're gonna have to add a line on the budget.
Yeah.
Or they're gonna.
That's going to
take out
increase the expenditures
310.
by $310,000. So either the levy's gotta go up, or we gotta cut $310,000 of expenditures.
I get that.
Those are the two
One or the
options.
other.
Yes.
okay, well, I tell you what, I don't like the motion, but I support it because if you make on one side, staff makes the decision, then there's an increase in the levy. Counselor Buckschneider.
But we aren't increasing, we're reflecting accurately what we're doing. We have been projecting our revenue short year after year after year. So this is going to allow us to accurately represent what our actual operations are. That's what I'm trying to get to. So like, yeah, we have to figure it out, but we've just been spending the money out of the reserves. That's all we've been doing. We're still spending it. We just need to actually say what we're doing.
Well, this $310,000 we get doesn't come out of our reserves. Grant dollars coming from the IRRBB?
It's coming from somewhere. If we're at $1.4 million in revenue, where our bond counsel is telling us that we've spent too much of our reserves, like it's
On the
not,
EDMAC and the ambulance, and they'll tell you that tomorrow too. They'll be here to explain that again.
yes, and I'm not
Second
just saying it's just this $310,000. It's so much bigger than just this $310,000.
Agreed.
But we know this is one itty bitty point of concern, and I just want to get this budget to a point someday, hopefully before my term is up, that like it's accurate. That's really all I want. I want it to be accurate.
Yep, thank you. Motion passed, so, okay, thank you. Next item. Anything else? We have to figure that out, the expense piece. All right, thank you.
If I may, in the bigger packet, when we get to the garbage rates, this is because we're having Baker Tilly come tomorrow, they're gonna talk a little bit about the enterprise funds. I think we all got a copy of the email or the letter from the county that solid waste tipping fees are going down. So we were projected to do a 3% increase in garbage rates next year, but with the tipping fees going down, I don't know that we do increase the rates. I think maybe and this is up for discussion, maybe we keep the rates the same but not adjust the tipping fees down, kind of, just kind of stay where we're at, but it's something we can talk about, something to consider.
Well, for me, it's about, the county could change that at any time. They
could.
They
They
increase-
definitely could,
They could decrease it again,
With
so,
a 60, I think it's a 60-day notice, they can raise that rate at any time, but.
all right, thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Okay, so I think what we need to get back to, though, is the current state of what that levy number looks like. Because what we did, because we didn't have an expense column, we just decreased then
Revenue by 300.
the amount of revenue we have, so that increases the levy by 310,000, is that correct? And every 60,000 is 1 percentage point approximately. So how much percentage is that? 7?
5.16.
5? So what we need to talk about then is what we're going to do and what, I mean, that's a huge swing, and I didn't catch that 310, didn't have an expense column to it. Is there anything else that that anyone sees that we don't have it, where we've got the revenue but not the expense side? Is there any other?
The
600,000.
600,000, that's the other one.
So when we have budgeted for revenue in the past that has not happened, what happens at that point? We don't hit those revenue numbers.
Depends, if our expenditures exceeded that, then that's where we have a problem with the general fund, but, you know, it's hard to say, you know, I mean, you don't expend as much, basically.
Now I'm just kind of, a very long day, I think, for all of us, but now I'm just kind of getting nervous about where we go from here. And the 1402 building, as soon as the EDA lifts whatever the requirements are, then we can market that. But I mean, there is also no guarantee that that's sold. But I have a very good feeling that we would have some interested party. But I mean, that's almost $1 million right there between those two figures. So now I'm at a loss for words.
So a question, Britt. Have we applied for, or do we have a number? You probably don't have to find that number now, about what our rebates on our sales tax for the materials for the public safety. You know, you know approximately what that is, but you don't know
About
exactly.
500,000, we don't got,
So-
we're just waiting for a few more invoices to come in.
Okay, and so you know approximately $500,000. What about the rebates for the solar panels that are?
I don't know that yet.
Do we have any idea, a number that could possibly, we don't know what that would be? All right, thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Is that $500,000 in the budget? Are we going to get that back in 2026? Where should that be an allocation of revenue in the budget?
Or we could just, yeah, we could use it to offset with the, that's great, I don't know if we can actually. The USDA loan is already locked in with the 3 rates we've already done, 3 letters that we did.
Where do we have to, so that's a sales tax rebate that we've already paid, so we
We
would
paid the
be,
sales tax, yep.
we would be reimbursing ourselves.
Selves, yep.
Did that come from the project fund? So does that have to go to pay the USDA loan down? You can carry the $500,000 into the general fund?
I believe so. And the reason I say that is because Cross Anderson is trying to get us to spend it. So,
Tell them no.
I've been telling them no.
Okay, so technically, I mean, then we have to budget for this if that's what you're telling me.
And that's we can't always budget for every single thing. So we just come in, we get extra revenue, we put it in miscellaneous revenue, it's a line item on the budget and,
But to be as accurate as possible.
right, with what we know today. Just like I said, we don't know that liquor licenses are gonna make 24,000. We could have 5 bars closed down next year. We just guess that that's what they're gonna make this year in 26, but.
Okay, so I guess then I would, how much of that, the radios, the Motorola radios are put in total into this 2026 budget for the new radios? What was that,
100,000.
110? It is in here. It's in the new budget. But I mean, so
Put it at
if
the
we
highest dollar
say,
amount just in case.
if we say that has to be put on hold until, I mean, that's a vote for tomorrow, so I don't, can we talk about that, Mayor?
Absolutely.
Okay. Long night. So that's 110,000. So now we're down to 200,000 difference. Is that correct? Okay, so now we're at 200 grand. We've got to deal with an increase on the levy or figuring something different out. So I don't know if others would agree. Is there any other capital purchases or plow blades or any other items of large that were in here, allocated in here?
Just the squad car, the police department has squad car computers that they really, really, really need because of the Windows 11 upgrade.
The ambulance in there?
That's in that, that's not general fund, that's in the ambulance fund, that's special revenue.
Let's specify, what general fund, is there any?
This, the lights that we ordered, the 5 globe lights, and then the squad car computers.
Squad car? What's the radios, what's the outfitting for tomorrow's meeting? What are those? Some kind of, is it a Chevy Tahoe we're
Well, that's
outfitting?
the Sprint Medic.
All Sprint Medic, those items are? Okay. There's nowhere else to squeeze that back down to where we had it. At zero. Britt, what would happen if what were those streetlights? 100,000?
1,000, yeah.
What would happen? Do we get dinged by Amoresco or do we get a ding somehow?
I know they've already been ordered, so I know they're on their way. The utilities would have to pay for them without. They ordered them on the promise that we would pay them.
We set up a promissory note to them in 2027? 100 grand? And are they on their way or can they be,
Find out for sure. I'll see.
Stopped.
I'll have them, I'll have Aaron ask. I'll ask her.
that would be one. I mean, I don't like when those globes go out and I don't think anyone likes when those globes go out, but if it's gonna save the levy from going up, I think that would be something I would readily consider.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor Paulson. Counselor Beyondich?
Brett, what do you have the general fund levy set at? What did you have it worked up to at this point?
$5,526,318.
And is that at the 0%?
That's actually a little bit negative,
How much negative is that?
less than like a 0.5%. It's-
0.5%? Okay, thank you.
That's just the general fund levy.
Counselor Boxnader?
Thank you. We could consider cutting the city councilor's medical insurance, or we all pay more towards that as well. That would be an option.
Counselor Motley?
Just segueing from Counselor Bachschnider, did we say we were going to start getting rid of insurance after 2026 for the counselors, mayor?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you. Was a formal motion ever made for that? And do we need a formal motion in order to have that happen?
It's a resolution we actually have to pass.
A resolution, you said? And has that been prepared for council consideration? When will the council see that? Is that on the agenda tomorrow?
Talked about it at a couple budget meetings ago. We have to have it done before the next filing session.
So in the new year, we'll look at it. Thank you.
Counselor Bachschnider?
Thank you. I think to be respectful to the department heads who have already been here for over 2 hours with us, if we could go to their budgets and see if there's anything that we want to talk to on those ones, that would be appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, well, Council, which one do you want to start with?
Probably community development. I don't know if there's a whole lot more there to discuss. I think that we didn't discuss anything different last time.
Jenny, anything that would you like to add with respect to the community development budget?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Councilor Bachschnider. I don't believe that our budget was up for discussion again in the kind of new budget finance spreadsheets that were provided in this packet. But I'm happy to answer any questions or work with council on any, other ways we can make accommodations. But from last meeting, we didn't have anything else.
I don't have anything additional. Thanks for being here this evening and answering all the VITA and VEDA questions we had as well. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the other reason I was sticking around. So I certainly can stay and answer any additional questions regarding that. But
Well, thank you.
if I have permission to leave, I'll also take that.
Any other questions for Jenny at all from the council? Thanks for hanging in there for the last 2 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, next one.
HR, Joy, do you have a separate budget or do you roll in? Okay, perfect. Jody? That leaves you.
Yep, and what ours changed was from what Britt had. I think she had a fight with Cassell. So I think we did all the cuts per request, and so those are all in there. And so, and we are, we're in the negative for what was projected.
Is that $1,029,000 in change?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Councilor Bachschnider?
Thank you. Do you have the 2 agenda packets? So the one that we reviewed last time, those numbers, so when we reviewed a week ago, and then the one that we're reviewing tonight?
I have the new one. I do have the old one, but the old one was really
Wonky.
because somehow the numbers got flipped in the thing. So,
Okay.
So the one that with the it was almost 30,000 cuts is on this one, and it's from the materials, and then the 10,000 from the repair and maintenance. We cut materials in half. We cut 4,500 from media. We cut programming by 1,500, and then we cut the rest of the materials by $9,000.
So one question that I have, and I could just be looking at this wrong. I'm looking at either the packet from 12/16 or the one dated 12/22, but with the one we looked at last week.
Okay.
And on there, it says the difference from 2025 to 2026, when just total government-wide adjustments, is $49,830. On the one that I'm looking for tonight that's noted new, it says the government adjustments difference from 25 to 26 is $22,704. So it looks like it increased from a week ago.
Still printing wonky. It should be on the summary sheet, the 1,029,000 is what it should be.
On what page?
It's on page 8. It's like that weird second page
Yeah,
thing.
page 8, the bottom column, the bottom line of that column, the little.
Where it
tick
says
mark next to it.
59,992?
Yep.
Okay, so it's
Reason
just,
I'm having a problem with the library's report, and I apologize.
no worries, I just want to make sure I'm
Yeah.
reading it right.
should be
So it just
1,000.
printed wonky, but the numbers,
It did. So yeah, that's so, because he did the other cut, so.
okay. Thank you for that.
I may have the right one on my desk, I may have given the Pam the wrong one, so I'm sorry, I
No,
apologize.
no, you're good.
Counselor Bachschnider, please continue, and then we'll go to Counselor Paulson. Counselor
you.
Bachschnider.
Thank you. One question that I do have about the state's mandate. So the state gives us that dollar amount, and then like what do we get in return at funding it at that level? Like what would be the purpose of funding it at that level or above?
Doesn't give us a dollar amount. So that is so there's a formula that is done, and it was done 2011, is that right?
2011?
Yeah, and so, and they did the formula, all that stuff. So the money that is collected from the state and from the county is then dispersed through ALS. It's not Arrowhead Library System. That's where that 1480 comes from. And then on top of that, we have our ILS, which in library world is the Integrated Library System, but that's basically our card catalog and how we can catalog, purchase, all that kind of stuff is in there. Transportation, so we get delivery regularly, as Counselor Paulson pointed out, that we get stuff from other libraries, so that helps us better use our budget, because you can't buy everything. And so when we share with other libraries in the system, and that pays for that, and of course, those expenses have gone up. We also, and so then we get reduced rates on things like barcodes and other things as far as being part of the regional system.
Okay, thank you. So there's not like, if we fund at a minimum of the 770, then you also get X amount from the state, from the Department of Higher Education, right? You just get, okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you. That was my first question. I've got more to look at.
Yep.
Thank you. Counselor, no, okay. So as we're talking about the library and us moving forward, there was some discussion about the minimum requirements that the state mandates. So if we just do the state minimum, say for the sake of argument and discussion here, how does that affect any allocations from the state for additional library funding?
We won't get any additional funding from the state, and there's right now at the national level with the IMLS, which is the library fund that helps fund libraries throughout the United States.
Right.
Funding has been decreased. So the funding at the national level has been decreased, the funding at the state level has been decreased. So budgets, we knew that this budget was going to go down some. So yeah, so you're seeing a decrease. So the amount, like there wouldn't be grants for us to apply for because there's not money, nor are there grants. So we're finding different ones to do some of the things that our community has requested. So that's, but as far as but also because we're union, there are certain things that we can use monies for and we can't, so there has to be a definite divide there. And of course, like the city of Virginia, our most valuable asset is our employees, so, and that's what makes our budget work. That is the majority of our budget. The parts that I've adjusted, there's not much I can reduce. I can't reduce salaries, I can't reduce benefits or anything like that. I reduced our purchasing power. We've reduced some of our maintenance stuff. So those things.
Okay, thank you. So another question I have for you, Brady, you touched upon it earlier in this meeting, and that is the domino effect that will reverberate citywide with respect to cutting the library budget, say, down to the minimum as was discussed earlier. So if that was the case, and it was, the allocation was cut, how it would affect, obviously, personnel at the library, but, based on the AFSCME contracts, how does that affect our employment network citywide?
The contract, I have one here, says that no volunteers, no casuals, no part-time, as long as there's any full-time that are on layoff.
No volunteers, no casual, no part-time.
No rink attendants, no rec assistants, no part-time, parking monitor, no volunteers, no rec assistants, no casuals, no part-time, no rink attendants. If we have a layoff of a single full-time employee,
So they would have the opportunity to...
any department, citywide, and the golf course would be taken back.
Right, so those library personnel, in the event that they would have the opportunity under the contract to bump into another,
Have 45 days to train into a position of somebody that's lower seniority than them.
okay, so we have ASME employees that work here, and so that would affect those who have the lowest number of seniority in that regard, number one. Number two is the golf course, which you have part-time individuals working at the golf course. That's operated by our Golf Course Pro, which we've had for years, so that wouldn't affect the Golf Course Pro, but it does affect the part-time employees there. So those part-time employees would be eliminated, and ASME personnel would have the opportunity to work there. Is that correct? Correct. And so the question for me, that for one step further, that will the salary and benefit packages that the ASME workers bump into at the golf course be commensurate to what they're making now, or would they go down to that with,
They get their wage,
to get their wage?
no matter what job they take.
Very good, thank you. Counselor, Ismail said their light on? Counselor Motley?
I appreciate the info on what one layoff might look like. I don't think this council has once said layoffs, but I asked the city administrator of Grand Rapids what they did with their library, which is extremely less money than ours. And it was way less before they even chopped their budget with their much larger population than the city of Virginia. They reduced hours of their staff and also dropped possible FTEs to part-time or whatnot. I don't know what the layoff situation looks like over there, but in a lot of areas, you are working harder with less. And the tax base in Virginia, as Councilor Bachschneider has stated last meeting, you can't go anywhere without being inundated by taxpayers saying how high their taxes are. And I try to do most of my shopping outside of Virginia just because I don't want to be inundated by taxpayers, but that's why we're here. But sometimes you just want to shop without being yelled at. But it can be done. I think we have some very good employees in this city. I think you do a great job with the library, Jody. But where else are you going to cut in the city without we're not going to touch our police. We're not going to touch our fire. We're not going to touch our street and our alleys. If the library has this massive support of members that are not taxpayers in the city of Virginia, maybe it's time for them to step up and donate and try to make up the difference. But I just don't know how, with a city of our size and a decreasing population, how our budget is so egregious compared to other communities that are larger than us, with a bigger tax base. And I think this is where, sadly, we have to focus on cuts, and it's not a decision I make lightly, in my opinion. I don't know if it's the opinion of the council, but where else are you gonna get the money? We all know we're not touching the police and the fire. So when the state mandates you at $770,000, which is more than all the larger communities around us, and our budget is still much higher than that, where else are you supposed to look to cut? Like, help me understand, as a counselor, Jody, where you can direct me, where else I can cut. Truly, and I'm not trying to bully you.
Well,
Yeah, please.
This is my budget, so for the library, this is the one that I know. I can't make financial decisions for the city. Now, I would like to also point out, since I've started, I have reduced this budget every year. We have reduced staff. We are now down 3 staff, so we have reduced staff. We have been working on that to make it align, as you've all chatted about tonight, to make it in line with what we spend and what we do. And that is, like, we have reduced every year to make sure that, like, oh, this is something that we don't do anymore. An example, magazine subscriptions. We've reduced that every year. Now, right now, we're just down to newspapers, hopefully, because of how this fiscal year works. We need to make decisions months before, and so we do, just anticipating that we'll have a flat budget. So we've been making reductions because, as you know, inflation. So we know that, like, oh, yep, we're gonna have to cut that. And we look at that every year, and things price us out. So we've been reducing where we can, but I can't fight inflation. Right now, our staffing budget is more than the 800, or than the 770,000. So we are to the point where it has to be staffed. That is your decision. I have cut where I can. You keep saying, we do have good support. Our materials budget has been reduced quite a bit. So that is, and that's what we need to function, to do, the staff do their job. So I can't answer your question. I've been reducing this budget every year.
Sorry, maybe I shouldn't have asked that.
Well, no, I mean, I can't answer it for the rest of the city. I can just do this budget. I keep reducing it, and I have reduced it every year. We've not hired staff, we've not filled positions, and to be in line with the budget and to help balance the budget. So that's what we've been doing. And if the next decision, yes, if you want to go to the 770,000, that's a whole nother process to look at. And that's one that, so I'm not sure what you would need by tomorrow. But that is also a union discussion because, again, our staff are all asked me, that's looking at how that would play out. We'd have to, definitely reduce hours, we'd have to reduce staff, reduce programming. And as you mostly all know, because I'm a library person and we've already planned through summer readings, so none of it's public yet, but we are doing all that work because of course programming takes a lot of planning and scheduling and all that stuff. So so those are the things that we would have to look at. And it would be, yes, we support the city, most of the people who do use this are in the city of Virginia. So yes, we get some from outside of the system. Yes, we get books, we send books out, we get books back. Because again, the nice thing about being a part of a regional is we can better use our funds by not having to duplicate a lot of different materials. So, and of course, we do some ebooks and things like that, but that's a whole nother discussion of like electronic books are all purchased through Arrowhead, and you would think they would be less than paper books, but they are not. That's a whole nother, like,
And I
things like
appreciate
that. So that's where so that's where we're at.
Okay.
The-
So out of your budget for, out of your budget for 2026, which I know you reduced, what amount is the employees' portion of the little over 1 million for the library?
The employees are
800 something?
Yeah, hang on. I have that somewhere in my email.
800 and some thousand. Selling benefits.
It includes employee, but also includes the retiree medical thing that's in all of our budgets. It's $812, 648.
812,648.
Yep.
Let me just do the math here, so
Why
if I
she's-
figure this right, I've got it in like 2 seconds, Mr. Mayor.
Sure, no problem.
Roughly, so that leaves, for your programming and everything that you do, that leaves 217,000. Okay, so the 12029 minus the employee cost is not correct?
Well, it is, but so you have to remember that that includes heating the building, water, electricity, all of that.
Thank you for that.
So-
So out of the 217,000 left after paying the employees,
Yeah, that's
that leaves you 217,000, and that is for programming and heating and maintaining the building. That does not leave you, okay, what else am I missing?
so like supplies, like, so you have to clean, so anything that you need to maintain a building, so it's gonna be all of your supplies. It's gonna be, any of the processing materials, it's gonna be, mop heads, it's gonna be, all of our professional services, the copier, all of, anything that, like, if we have to call the computer person because the computer crashes, all of it. So that's everything.
Thank you for that, I appreciate that, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Oh, yeah.
So out of the employee expenses of 812,000 and some change, the supplies, the maintaining of the building and everything that leaves you, would that leave you with roughly around $50,000 for programming in the library?
Yeah.
Roughly?
The
So
programming-
50,000 for
yeah,
programming.
well, no, that programming, we only, like, our programming budget, even before this, was under $4,000. Right now, we reduced it to $1,500. So that's just for programming and some of the supplies. And then we use, we have weird things like, you hate the miscellaneous budget, so like barcodes. Like, where do you, some of the stuff random stuff that we use in programming, a lot of it we collect and reuse, but some of the stuff like glue.
And I appreciate that. So
Scissors.
out of the 1,129,835, because I just keep hearing program is going to be cut, and
Well, so less
that leaves you
staff.
less than, so out of true programming in the library, that leaves you with how much for programming and materials for the library?
Oh, so I'd have to do new
Like
math.
less than
Hang on.
50, so-
I'd have to do new math. So, so this is the amount that we, for programming, and so adult books, adult reference children, which reference is a misnomer, media, which is, we have a lot of DVDs because a lot of our people in the area don't do Wi-Fi or internet because streaming is expensive, and periodicals. So for just that part of it is $52,000. So that's would be programming, books, materials, that kind of stuff.
So programming is 52,000, and the rest of the budget, out of the
Yeah, the rest of it is-
1,029,000 and some change, 52,000 is for programming, the rest is,
Well, it's buying books for
Right.
adults and kids and media for the DVD. our newspaper subscriptions. We have a couple databases that we purchase. Let's see, what else? And some of that stuff we've cut. So yeah, so those are the materials in the library that everybody uses.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that information. Yeah, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Before we go to Counselor Bachsteiner, you have 9 employees, including yourself there?
Yes,
And
but
how many are part-time, how many are full-time?
I have 2 casuals. I have 2 part-timers right now, and then I have,
You have two, you're technically 2 casuals, 1 part-time, and then the rest of.
the rest, yeah, that's right, because as of, so, yeah, 2 casuals.
2 casuals, 1
1
part,
part-time, and everybody else is full-time.
everybody else is full-time, so,
Including myself, there's 9 of us.
6 full-time, including you,
Correct.
2 casuals, and 1 part-time. Thank you. Counselor Bachsteiner?
Thank you. I have a few things. So Jody, you had said that you cut your budget every year. According to this, our 2024 prior year actual was about 945,000. This year to date, we're at 917,000. If you do that math, it brings us to just over 1 million. So the budget has been increasing, and that's okay, inflation, all the things, right? Like,
Well, I should say the part I can cut, I cannot, I don't touch, like,
Yep.
employee stuff. So the part that I can cut,
No,
which is
100%, and like, there's
100%.
inflation, I get it, and I'll also add that you know, if we just take that number, divide it by 11, add that and make it 12 months, it's less than what the 2025 budget current year is, and so we appreciate that, and thank you for doing that. Knowing that this year it's probably gonna come in at about this million, right now, your budget's at $1,048,722.80, right? That was printed right still on this?
No, it's supposed to be 1,029,000.
1 million, sorry, what was it?
1,029,000.
1,029,000, okay, perfect. Do you think, and what I think then is, can we cut this budget to an even $1 million, so cut $29,000 out of it, would be my preference. Looking at other counselors as well. For thoughts.
Well, I think we're looking for an answer for Counselor Bachsteiner. You know, is it possible somewhere in that budget to cut another $29,000? As we take a look at the budget. Hold that thought for a moment. Counselor Paulson, then over to Counselor Motley. Do you have a potential answer here?
I have a clarification I would, if I
Okay.
may,
Yeah,
because
please,
it's regarding the
To
numbers.
clarify for Counselor Bachsteiner and for all of us,
So on page 8 and on page 13, those
On what
numbers
packets?
are
I'm sorry.
different. In the small one.
Okay, thank
the
you.
thin one, yeah. And this is why I was gonna ask this question. So on the library, this is the weird one that I pointed out, Britt, okay.
Page 8 is the one that's correct.
Yeah. So that's at $1,029,835.
That's the correct one.
That's, okay, because then so tell me which one is the current levy reflected on?
1,029,835.
Okay, so it doesn't, I thought I was gonna go, hey, there's $18,000. Okay, but so it's.
So what
that-
I'm suggesting then is reduce the budget to an even 1 million, so essentially 29,000, almost 30,000, right? Because it's $1,029,835, so just about 30,000.
as Counselor Paulson and Counselor Bachsteiner look at a little math action, what do you, Counselor Motley?
Are you, Counselor Paulson, are you doing the, like, subtractions of potentials on the levy on the 100,000? Do you have a number for me if you make that an even million? What Counselor Bachsteiner is recommending, and then, I know, I see you typing over there. Do you have a number with your, and then this is, I'm assuming with the radios possibly continuing on for another year, right? Potentially tomorrow, if it fails. Anyway, sorry, I'm just thinking hypotheticals. What do you have for a number? Please.
Counselor Paulson?
So far, all I'm doing is we've minused out 310. So I've been trying to figure out how we can reduce 310. We reduce the revenue by 310. So I'm trying to see what kind of reduction. So far, the police radios are 110,000. The street lighting is 100,000.
Email them, so ask them.
Is that correct? 100 grand, so that's 210,000. So I was looking at another 100,000. If we went 29 on the library, that's another then we would need to reduce by another 71,000 to keep where Britt's at. If we stayed at that without reducing anything and stayed at 100,000, where would that bring us to your current, because you said we were at a negative now,
Negative 0.5% in the general fund
0.5%,
budget.
so 100 grand would be a 1.5%. Or no, yeah, well. And I'm sorry, I'm just,
No, it's okay.
I'm trying to run scenarios. And if you reduced by 29, you'd be at just a smidge over 1%. And I think what I have to say on the library is that I feel like it's not fair just to pull the rug out from underneath the library. Like, I feel like those conversations, we should have been having, all of us together all along. And while I think the library budget is too high, I just don't know how you stop in the middle and pull the rug out. And I don't want to see, like, this happened before, like during the I guess the negotiations during the strike. And, we got that down to 4%, and that was great. But you're doing it at the very end of the year when people are going to lose their jobs around the holidays. And I feel like we need to do a much better job at our budgeting process in terms of our timing and lay out the expectations. And I would like to see us start in March. I'm sorry, Britt, but I feel like you can't just all of a sudden go, okay, well, we're going to execute, we're going to do this. And then all of a sudden this clause kicks in and the golf course clause kicks in. And I just feel like there needs to be a lot more pre-planning. And I'm all for reduction wherever we can reduce. And I would love to reduce healthcare for counselors in budget year 26, but that is not realistic. It will reduce in 27, and I think that'll reduce by $80,000. And then in the next 2 years, it would be another probably 80,000, I would think. So unfortunately, that will be done in phases, and I wish we could do it now, but we can't. So I guess the way I'm looking at this is, do we increase the levy by whatever? If we can reduce the radios and reduce the lights and do an IOU to the public utilities potentially for 2027, if they would allow us to do that, what would keeping, and I don't know where you were going with the 29,000, if that's just something in your head, you were like, it's a nice round number. I just feel like we as a council need to have more conversations before we just pull the rug out from under planning that has taken place throughout the year. That's just I don't think that that's something that, I think we just need a better planning process. Do I think the library budget should be reduced? I probably do. But I don't feel that this is the timing just to pull the rug right now. So I guess what I'm asking you, Britt, is where did you, at the number that was in here, geez, I got paper everywhere. Page 1, is it? Or no, page 2? No. Where all the levy numbers were okay, here. Page 21?
Page 20 and 21.
21. Okay. So on the general levy, instead of it being, so this is what we would be looking at right here on 21, the first item, levy general fund, is that correct? So with just the police radios and the potential for the lights, how much of a potential do you think there is for that?
They may be here already. I don't know. We'll check that. What I did, I took out the police radios and the small amount from the library, unfortunately, and I brings us down to 6% total levy. Debt.
What was the
Including
debt
debt.
levy? What percent?
It was originally 9 point
Yeah,
something.
8.373 was, this one was.
Is that an additional $29,000 reduction?
Yes, and I don't know that necessarily from the library. Maybe it's just general fund. We take 29,000 somewhere, but yes. 29,000 and the 100 for the radios.
But do we need to say as a council where that reduction is coming from? Or do you as staff just say, like if we say a number and then you guys figure that out, like what is the normal way that we've done it? Or what would you recommend doing? Or Mayor, go ahead, because it's late and I just want as clarified tonight as we can.
Well, I think traditionally we have done is, this is the first time we've had these budget meetings separate. Usually the department heads would meet with our city administrator, the city administrator would meet with staff and determine, where the budget cuts are going to be, look at what's needed and what their wants are, make that decision, make those cuts that are unwarranted based upon a levy and bring it to us. And then we look at the budget from what those projections are. Well, we didn't do it this year. This time we started with the budget right from the very beginning because it was some transparency about the public needs to know from the very beginning we're starting out. So I think the appropriate, what we've done in the past is we've directed staff, we give them a number. Once they brought the budget to us, we take a look at it and say, okay, I think I'd like to see this reduced even more. We as a council, we'd like to look at this, we'd like to look at that. And we feel that we want to be at a 0% levy or 1% levy. And we ask you, direct staff, to make the necessary cuts in those areas and bring that back to the council. That's what we have done before. So, I mean, for me, it's about, everybody wants their taxes reduced. If you peel away the onion, that's what it's all about, property taxes, that's it. And we can only do so much with the general fund levy. I think that has to be done over time. Baker Tilly's going to make that presentation tomorrow. And I think there's going to be some eye-opening things about, we're not levying enough money to cover the costs associated with the services that we provide. So there's only one thing to do, and it's to cut services, and that's what we've been doing. And so directing staff to bring that number down, to continue to leave that at the 0% levy, Britt and staff will have to look, Megan, will have to look at making those hard choices, short of staff reductions. Maybe it's through attrition over, maybe it's through early retirements over for 2026, or whatever the case may be. In order to move the budget even further down the pike, it's going to result in some staff reductions. And how those reductions take place are based upon the plan that I think that we need to move forward with, take an approach, because if we're going to cut $300,000 from one budget, I think you are pulling the rug out at one big swoop, because you take that, you look at what is the domino effect, how is this affecting other parts of the city. So, I mean, planning that moving forward, if reductions are going to be made, we do that in a calculated manner. I concur with Councilor Bachschnider about reducing it to $29,000 and get to that $1 million level as a start, and then really in earnest look at that budget starting in March of 2029, as you suggested, and try to figure out how we can make these reductions moving forward to ensure the integrity of our cash reserves and our investments and our fund balance. But I think Baker Tilly is going to tell us what we have to do in the next 10 years to improve our financial picture. That makes sense. That makes sense. Councilor Paulson.
Real quick, are we at a negative? What's the percentage negative? That's what's
keep playing with
offsetting the
numbers.
debt,
Yeah.
the debt service, the debt
That's what
levy.
says the debt service. 8%.
-8? Okay,
That's what this number is.
that's okay, -8. And so if we didn't decrease, it would go up a smidgy more. Okay, thank you, sorry.
Thank you, Counselor Paulson. Counselor Motley?
So we keep the library at $1 million. I'm not, and neither is Counselor Bachschnider in her past, saying that we would support raising the levy. So our difference is roughly how much right now? Just Counselor Paulson, like 100 and something? Or 71,000 roughly, give or take. So is it possible that we 71,000 roughly, unofficially? Is it possible we can have recommendations from city staff for tomorrow night's meeting?
At 71,000?
Just my thought. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor Bachschnider. And then over to Counselor Beyondich.
I'm sorry, I just didn't catch. So you're asking for is it $79,000? And you're asking staff to come back tomorrow and say, where else can we cut the $79,000?
Before we set the levy, because I'll never agree to anything
I just
higher.
want to make sure, and Britt, you said that was okay. I just didn't hear it.
Let me take a chance and see if I can find.
I don't know what the exact number is, 70 something or 80, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Britt will figure it out.
That I can figure out here.
That was just a recommendation, so thanks.
Perfect. I just didn't hear it, so thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Counselor Beyondich.
Thank you. And listening to all of this, and Jody, from me, I will apologize because we do keep coming to the library for the budget, to balance the budget. And I'm sorry that the budget was set the way it was set. It's hard for me to sit here and talk about this when I see other departments go over budget. And I have never known you to go over your budget, ever. So thank you for that. In the same breath, I am saying that it hurts me to do this, to make these, because it's like we're balancing it off of you, off of the library. And I'm sure it feels that way. And I don't know, when departments have a set budget, when they go over budget, and I get it, the budget is a moving target, but I also know that for those that stay in a budget and do a good job of it, often that's the one that gets the money pulled from them. And I apologize for that. So trying to pare this down, and I will have to agree with Counselor Paulson at the 9th hour, here we are, trying to balance things, and it's here. So,
I'm gonna leave here and go see if I can find $29,000.
and you know, I appreciate everything you have done. I honestly have. And I don't feel it's fair that we've, for me, I'll speak for myself, that when departments go over budget, it's, I don't know, I don't know how this is all set up, and I think that's why part of this budget process this year is so difficult, because we have pulled it apart and really looked at budgets and really looked at numbers and try to understand where things are. I don't ever remember doing this ever as my years on this council. So I think we're getting to the transparency of what the numbers are and the numbers that shift and move, and like I said, it kind of feels like this is one department that's never been over budget.
And I hope next year that we can stay the same, but my major concern is, because we also cut $10,000 from the maintenance, is we are doing steam conversion. And like this building, it's old. So I hope that however that money is set aside for the buildings, not just the library, but the other ones too, that there is enough money put in there for the problems that will occur. The steam conversion is going to be fine. It's going to be the things that we don't know what's behind our walls.
Yes, and I would agree with that. And I know that we've talked before about not filling positions, and this is the exact reason that I have felt that way, is because I don't want to keep cutting. So I just wanted to make, you've always done a great job on your budget. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Counselor Beyondich. I have a question for you. Counselor Beyondich brought it up about the fact that our departments have gone over budget. How many departments have gone over budget in 2025? Do we have a number of them?
I think, gosh, that's, I don't want to speak out of turn and perhaps get this wrong, and that's their budgets. We have several department heads that do a really good job, and we have, of course, our funds, our event center and our ambulance that are, that we should be perhaps budgeting differently for. But that's not to say I can target, I don't want to target anybody. I don't know how many off the top of my head. I can get back to you guys.
Fair
on that.
enough. We'll get that information. But I'm just curious as to, we're supposed to look at what the percentage of the budgets are every month. Where are you at in your budget? If you're 100% of your budget, we would know that. We see that in the budget projections if you're over the budget.
Right.
You're 70% or you're 80%. I've never seen a budget yet that's over 100%, except losses in not having the revenue stream. So
Right.
I think Councilor Beyondich makes a good point about the fact that we don't want anybody to go over budget. And the fact that there are some departments here who have been, done their due diligence and try to maintain, within their budget constraints. And that's exactly what the library has done, even though it's $1,029,000 and the state mandate says you only have to be X amount of dollars. So, I mean, I don't know how that formula works, but I do know that we are using the library as the last resort to cut the budget even more. I think we all have to make sure that everybody feels the pain. I think they have been so far. And I think finance is done and Britt has done yeoman's work to try to figure out how to reduce this based upon our city's requests to reduce the budget as much as they can to where we're at today. So we still have some more decisions to make by the end of the day tomorrow, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. Go back to Councilor Boxsteiner and then over to Councilor Paulson. Councilor Boxsteiner.
Thank you, and I agree, Jody, you've always done a really good job managing your budget, and I'm super appreciative of that, so thank you. In all the conversation we've had in the last half hour or so now, one thing that we continue to go back to is retirement, attrition, things like that. And over the last year, that's really what I've tried to push for, and a lot of times roles were still getting filled, and now here we are at the end of the year having this conversation. One question I have for Britt is, what roles within the city of Virginia are considered essential? Would it be fire, EMS, police, and is there any others?
Plowing, garbage service.
Okay, and
Yeah.
partial of public works or all of public works, is how does that work?
That's a great question. When it comes to plowing, it's everybody. I mean, it's anybody that has a Class B, we throw on a truck. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I would like to make a motion to implement a hiring freeze on all non-essential roles that are full-time citywide.
Read the motion back, please, and then we'll go for a second.
A hiring freeze on all non-essential roles that are full-time non-essential roles citywide,
Just full-time.
full-time,
Very good, thank you.
non-essential.
Full-time, non-essential, not part-time, not just full-time, non-essential. Okay, that's a motion by Counselor Bachschnider. Is there support?
Support for discussion?
Support by Counselor Motley for discussion. Further
Why-
discussion, Counselor Motley.
Why just full-time, Counselor Bachschnider?
I guess my rationale is if a bunch of part-time rec assistants left and they're going back to school and we need more, that would probably be the only one. I'm open to all of them.
Rink attendants, we're hoping to hire those tomorrow. so-
Rink attendance tomorrow. I mean, I'm going to vote no on those again too, so I guess it doesn't, I don't care, but.
I got you. That's
But-
what, thank you for the, appreciate that. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So there is a motion on the floor in support to implement a hiring freeze of the City of Virginia for all non-essential personnel. And I would like that essential and non-essential to be clarified. But there's a motion on the floor to do so. Is there any further discussion? Counselor Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do believe that during COVID, we did have a list of essential versus non-essential. Maybe that can be pulled up fairly easy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Motion on the floor to implement a hiring freeze for all non-essential full-time personnel for the City of Virginia with no time frame, correct? Okay, further
No time frame
discussion?
noted.
Okay,
Can we
just
clarify that one more time, please?
read the motion back, please, Pam.
By Counselor Bachschnider, supported by Counselor Motley, to implement a citywide hiring freeze for all full-time non-essential roles.
That has been moved and supported. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Counselor Paulson?
Thank you, Mayor. So in light of that vote, in the thicker packet or in the bigger packet, Britt, page 39 and 40, this is the Iron Trail Motors Event Center. How much in the budget was in for the sales and marketing director for salary and then medical insurance?
I don't have that off the top of my head. I guess about 100,000 or so.
About 100,000. So does that motion carry through with that hire?
I would think so. I mean, that's,
Okay, so there's 100,000 right there.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so add that now.
so that would come off of the transfer.
So I was
The
down
rec
to
would be down to-
71.
Yep.
Now you're reduced further. Now,
So what I've been doing for the ITMEC is that anytime we make a change there that comes down, I reduce the rec. So the general fund gets reduced also.
that's what I'm asking.
Yeah, yep.
So the transfer in then would get
Reduced.
reduced, which would give us more in our general. So then hold a sec, Britt, because I would also make another recommendation, and I don't know if we have to make motions during this or not. But under the marketing and advertising, I would not increase that. I would actually hold to 30,000, which is our current year-to-date expense, 29,966. So I would hold that expense for marketing and advertising to 30,000 for the year of 2026. Then we could reduce that budget amount of the employee. So that's another, I don't know, not filled. So that saves 130 right there. So that would further reduce, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so I don't know where that leads us, but my head is spinning.
Mine too. I'm gonna have to get back to you tomorrow on the number because I've got a lot of numbers floating around here that I'm getting myself confused.
Yeah, I think
But I have them all written down, so.
Brett will be burning the midnight oil to making sure that we ensure that all these suggestions are taken and put into the budget process for consideration tomorrow evening. So, yeah, thank you, Councilor Paulson.
Okay, so just because it's so late and I I just want to give myself a checklist of what we did. So we're reducing, we're going to wait on the police radios until we get, so that's a reduction of 110,000. Then we're going to check on the lights and see if we can either pay the public utilities in '27 possibly, or not accept them if we can do that. So that's 100, that's 210,000. Reduction of the library, an additional 29,000, is that correct? And then reduction of the vacant position, sales and marketing, and then an additional, which would be the insurance too, and then an additional reduction of $35,000 to the marketing budget, holding the marketing budget at 30,000 total.
And 500 for Youth in Action.
And then 500 for Youth in Action.
Yep.
And too bad the curling club, we didn't have that discussion sooner, but
No, but I'll check with, we'll check with legal to see if what adjustments can be made, if any.
and then
that
next
works.
year, one of the first discussions I think we should start having is about health insurance for city council members. Let's get that going so that is off the books for '27. And at least if we're going to make these cuts, we all need to feel that we're making the cuts, even though we can't do it in 2026.
Yeah, and I would even proffer for myself, an adjustment to this monthly salary for the mayor as well. So maybe reduce the mayor's salary or eliminate it completely for 2027. And I did talk to Megan about that earlier, but this would be a personal choice in which to do that if it helps reduce this budget or save a job. Councilor Buck-Snyder.
I would just want you to check the charter first. I think that is a charter problem and not a personal choice that you have.
Yeah, I've also talked to legal about that as well earlier, so, yeah.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, we'll see. Correct, that's what I'm saying. I could donate it back, yeah. I could take the money and donate it back to the city. Okay, anything else? We have a checklist of some of the things that Britt is going to take a look at for tomorrow night's meeting. Is there anything else somebody would like to bring up? Jody, I want to thank you for all your time and effort here, staying for this long, arduous process, and the pain that's being exhibited throughout the entire budget process, but it is a necessary adjustment that we have to make, and we make those decisions not lightly. So, anything else to come before the budget meeting today? Anything from staff? Okay, we will adjourn our budget meeting at 9:40 p.m. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. We stand adjourned.